Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me now. So just let me set up the light properly. Oh man. Oh wow. No, we just have to do this like that. Yeah, that's better. I think that's better like that. Hi, GoldenEye 25 Espanol. Hello, Ben, joining in GoldenEye 25. I hope you can hear me well. Bear with me. This is the first time that I do this live stream sort of thing. I hope this is going to work. First, I wanted to. So if there's, hi Martin. So I hope you can hear me well. If there's anything wrong or anything wrong with the stream, just write me in the comments and I'll take care of it. But I hope everything is set up fine. Yeah, I was a little bit worried. Okay, ready to save the world again? Yes, absolutely. Video audio is good. Okay, that's good to know. So I was a little bit worried if this would actually work out and if it would be something going on, you know. And I just came into this and just saw there's already many questions on here. Wow, that's cool. After you, 007. Yeah, after you, Martin. Let me just quickly post this so people can see. La 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 la. There we go. Let me just tell people everywhere that. Oh, what are we? 20 seconds in, and already all the GoldenEye quotes that you can wish for. I love this. Okay. Hi, Minzy 421. Yeah, I'm very well. Thank you. Hopefully you too. And let me just go back real quick and see what the questions are that you have posted. So, and by the way, like I said, this is the first time. We'll just see how this goes. This is generally just to talk with you. I'll try to keep up with the questions. And but, you know, this should not be this sort of tutor and student situation, you know, where I just keep talking and talking. I really want to, you know, do a conversation with you, chit chat, you know, small talk. And like I said, if you have questions, of course, go ahead and ask them. But then again, we can talk about anything. You know, this is not strictly about GoldenEye 25 or anything or music. It can be about anything really. But I'm just going to take a look at the questions that you've sent in so far. So hi Onik, hi everyone. Unfortunately, can't stay for the stream, but I'll leave you some maybe too many questions I'd like you to answer. Okay, this is going to be fun because. Real now there's no editing, you know. Usually I can edit stuff and now this is live. So well, but then again, you can hit me with any questions you want. Okay, so Cristiano dos Santos Gomez, and by the way, se habla español? No, not really. Don't try me, okay? Or when I prepared this, on parle en français, parlare italiano, we speak English, wir sprechen Deutsch, and Ja говорю по-русски. No, let's go there. Okay, let's just keep it English. Okay, and also something I would like to mention that Nico Susik, I think was the name, hopefully pronounced that one right. He's doing all the translations of our videos for GoldenEye 25, and I just want to say thank you very much one more time for our you know, Spanish-speaking community parts. And that's really great service you offer there. And he's also very kindly offered to translate questions. So if you want to write questions in the chat box in Spanish, feel free to do so. Nico is kind enough to translate that for us. And I also want to mention that he's just released his new book about the movie GoldenEye, which I'm looking forward to very much. I have to wait because you can get it online for I think $5, and then you can get a paperback edition from Amazon for $15. I want to get that because that's something that I want to, you know, something I want to put somewhere. You can see back there in my, well, by the way, that's all my laundry that I did today. You can see I did not have time. I had to do some music, and so, man, I really thought this would be out of shot. This is really embarrassing. Anyway, just don't mind that. It's, well, and at least it's fresh. It's not used. So on the piano in the back there, you can see various soundtracks and the movies, DVD covers and stuff like that. And I'd love to put it there because it's just something, you know, GoldenEye. If you've seen some of my videos or read some of my posts or anything, you just know GoldenEye is just everything for me. Okay, so enough interruptions. Now let's, well, it's not an interruption, of course. Get the book written by Nico. I'm absolutely sure it is going to be amazing. I can't wait to read it myself. So, oh, I see the comment section is filling up. So I'm just starting at the beginning. Okay, so Cristiano dos Santos Gomez asked, how did you get into music? Well, it was, the thing was that I used to do, you know, little fan films back then. So the very first thing was that my parents gave me a Lego set that was about, I don't know, it was about 20 or 70, 18 years ago. They gave me a Lego set, and that had a webcam, and it was a Lego movie maker. There was a little software that allowed you, you know, to do stop motion animation. So I would you know, use the webcam, and then you had those sets in that Lego crate, really, and you could build your sets and then do stop motion animation movies. And you had that movie maker software. I think it was Lego Movies. I don't recall. And then, you know, suddenly I started to turn the camera around and film me and my friends, and we did little things there. And then I got a camcorder at one point, and but I started to realize, you know, it's just not possible to do music and scripts and everything and act and all this. It just was too time consuming. And unfortunately, I had to go to school, so that used up a lot of time as well. And then at one point, it just by chance, I really got into music. I think that, as far as I can remember, the thing was that yes, exactly. The initial spark was my dissatisfaction with the GoldenEye soundtrack, not the music itself. You know, I love that stuff, but the soundtrack release, which just lacked so many cues and stuff that you heard in the movie and was not on there. And then I had this shitty little keyboard back then, and I just started to load the timpani and strings and stuff. And then I got my first very basic music software back then, because when I started out, the very first steps back then, I didn't have any VST libraries were not around. So you still had, you know, the keyboard sounds, but I recreated some of the cues and so on. And that's really how I got into music. And everything, you know, went from there. And then it got better, you know, I got better software. I got something like a mentor, a really, really fantastic guy named Rico. Oh, I forgot his last name, but anyway, he was from Berlin, and we chatted a lot, and he taught me many things, and he also um, helped me get into Logic, I think it was back then. Meanwhile, I switched to Cubase as music software, and that was a really great time. And that's, you know, gradually. And then the first thing that happened is when I was able to join GoldenEye Source, and I could do the music there, or contribute some tracks. Yeah, that's basically how I got into it. Second question by Cristiano. Do you like rock metal music? If so, what are your favorite bands in that genre? You know what? I'm very cautious when it comes to sort of analyze or to rate music by genre, because there's great music in every genre. But generally, I'm not a big fan of rock metal because, well, for starters, I'm not a huge fan of distorted guitars. I come from you know, I started out with even before I started with movie music, I started out with rock and roll music. So really, you know, the old Chuck Berry stuff. Wow, now the names fail me. You know, Carl Perkins and all these guys. And so I'm more into that stuff, and they always have more like almost more clean guitar sounds. I prefer that. And so rock and metal, well, there are some things that I can listen to, but it's nothing that I have on my playlist, so to speak. Okay, then let's continue with Cristiano's questions. What are your favorite games outside the Bond universe? Okay, that's a good one. I really, well, unfortunately, these days I don't get to play. I don't have much time to game anymore, just simply because I have so much music to do. And but one thing, the last game that I played, I really enjoyed, was the newest Hitman. And of course, then again, GoldenEye. You know, when I actually managed to kill Sean Bean. Well, then again, many movies have managed to do that, but that's a game I really enjoyed. And then old games I like to come back to every now and then, maybe every 4 to 5 years. I just replayed Simpsons Hit and Run recently, and also No One Lives Forever. I love that game. And GoldenEye, of course, the original game. Nightfire, I still, well, maybe every 4 or 5 years I play that again. And yeah, I think that's about it. Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the first ones I really enjoyed. That's about how I can keep up. Okay, then we continue with Cristiano's question. Will we hear Bond footsteps in GoldenEye 25? Well, that's coincidence, because that's just something I talked to Ben about. Yesterday or 2 days ago. Yes, we're going to have footsteps in GoldenEye 25, because just adds that little more layer of realism, and I just think it's something you've gotten used to in modern games. Different sounds for metal, wood, snow would be great to give the player more immersion in the level. Yes, absolutely, we'll have that. Of course, when you walk on snow, you'll have a different sound than when you walk on tiles or on grass or on sand and so on. So yes, we'll have that. Now we get to Martin. I'm sorry, I really can't follow what you're writing right now. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. I'll just try to go through the questions right now that are the beginning. Sometimes I wish someone also made a Twine N64 remake. Yes, me too. I would absolutely love to see that, because that was one game, The World Is Not Enough, as well as Tomorrow Never Dies. I really love those games, and I'd love to see them remade, obviously with Pierce Brosnan and not some random actor, or even replace him with Daniel Craig. But to have those games on a modern engine, it would be fantastic. I would really love to see that. And Martin also wrote, of course, the original N64 Twine was full of missing opportunities, but seeing Nightfire formula with boat chase will actually be playable would be interesting. Yes, absolutely. Like I said, I think especially, but not just only those games, but I would love to see every Bond movie turn into a nice and really good, solid game. That's something I'd love to see. But then again, with all with all that situation going on, with all the copyright issues and all, nobody knows who owns which assets, and the famous GoldenEye XBLA that was cancelled and so on. That was just yeah, well, probably we're never going to see it, but well, okay. Yeah, now I'm coming closer to actually okay, now I'm catching up. Oh wait, okay. Okay, so everybody who's joined in, hello, and great to have you on board. I'm just right now I'm catching up with the comments and questions. I had quite something to go through to begin with, but now I'm catching up. Now it's starting to get live, so to speak. Okay, I'm coming closer. Is the rocket launcher still gonna have that potato written in Russian? Yes, Martin. Oh, thank you, Ben, for already answering that. You left the kitchen cupboard open too. No, you know what, Richard? That the problem is my fridge just broke down 3 days ago, and and now it's really hot weather, and it's really I have to drink warm stuff all day, and I can only buy stuff for 1 day, and then I have to use it. It's really, when a fridge breaks down, you really start to realize, one of those things that you only start to appreciate once you don't have it anymore. And it's probably going to take 2 more days for it to arrive, the new one. And this one, this one was just replaced 3 years ago, so that was okay. My question by Minzy421. My question is: before you compose music, do you look for any inspirations to get started? Well, when we're talking about GoldenEye 25 now, yes, of course, the first thing I always go to is the movie, of course. The last level I've completed was the Runway. It released a video about that, and of course, when you have a strong movie counterpart, with iconic scenes and soundtrack, You want to stay close to that. But when it comes to caverns, for example, which has nothing to do with the movie, or Egyptian, I try to look within the Bond universe. Is there anything that remotely gets closer to that, you know? And maybe I nick some ideas from there, but usually, and also when we're talking about, when we stay with GoldenEye 25, I try to think of Eric Serra's work in general, because that's sort of the sound we try to achieve in the game. I try to look at his work that was previously done, you know, like Leon or The Fifth Element that came right after that, and you get some more ideas from those soundtracks because they were done within the realms of those years, you know, from, let's say, 1990 to 1967 probably. So that's where I sort of get a little bit inspired by. And of course, you're always inspired by the things other composers that you love do. You know, David Arnold, his soundtracks for Tomorrow Never Dies, The World's Not Enough, those things. Maybe they're subconsciously going into the composition, but they're definitely there. Theo Trott asked, "Are you hyped for the next Bond?" No, not really, to be honest. I'm not even sure. I think that's probably the first Bond ever since. Well, the first one that I saw in the cinema was The World Is Not Enough, and I saw every movie since then in the cinema. And probably that's the first one I'm going to skip because, you know, I've been very outspoken about this, that I don't like the Bond movies that came after Pierce Brosnan, with the portrayal of Daniel Craig and the way they're made, and the lack of humor, the lack of you know, of style, of class, of grace, that Brosnan had, that Moore had, that Dalton had as well, that Connery had. Yeah, that's what I'm really missing, and that's why I think I'm going to miss out on Bond 25 in cinema. I'm probably not even going to see it at all. I just forced myself to watch the Craig movies just to know what I'm talking about, and to be able to get into a conversation with someone and actually know what it was like and what I dislike about it. And yeah, so no, I'm not really hyped for it. So let's see. Frozen loading. Question from, would you like to compose? Oh, okay. Now we're Bond 25 again. Would you like to compose the music for Bond 25? Maybe not for Bond 25, but maybe for one after them, because I've not given up on Bond entirely, because, you know, maybe this is just a chapter now with that Craig era, and you know, eventually they will reboot the franchise like they did many times, you know, with every actor, basically, sometimes even within one actor's portrayal, and maybe the next tenure will be more to my liking, and of course then I would love to be on board. And but then I would love to do, you know, like the good ones they did, you know, like everything, well, again, let's say pre-Casino Royale, you know, where you really have a decent amount of the Bond theme and so on. Then I would love to do it, I think, yes. But Bond 25, no, I think I can skip that. Well, you know, but thanks for thinking I would even be able to do that. I'm not sure if I could handle it or be good enough to do it. I don't know. Okay. Loud Eric Sarai. Okay. Okay. Now I'm catching up, guys. I'm catching up. I'm coming closer. Liebe. What about Perfect Dark? How do you look at that comparing to GoldenEye? You know what? I have to admit, I have never played Perfect Dark. I've seen it, excerpts of it, but I have never actually played it through or something like that. And so I can't really compare. I'm sorry. Martin's just wrote, "This is my cure to depression. When you are sad, just kill Sean Bean in a game of your choice. If you're still not happy, repeat until you are." Yeah, or just watch a movie where he gets killed, so you can randomly pick one. Okay. My first question is, will Natalia be annoying just like on the Nintendo 64? Well, I think that is up to Ben. And must just say that your song "The Man with No Face" was amazing. Oh, thank you very much. So to my next question, will you share more with us? More what? Could you maybe be a little more specific? Gotcha. Like living in the Victorian age. Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's referring to the fridge. Now that's not now that we're getting really live. Now it's not starting to be enjoyable. Um, like living in the Victorian age. Yes, because my fridge is broken down. Yeah. Gotta go. Okay, bye, Martin. I probably missed you. Thank you very much for joining in. Hopefully, see you soon again. Goodbye and have a good night. Yes, absolutely. Good night to you too. Thank you very much for joining in. Dalek Enclave 123. Hopefully, I pronounced that one right. Was it hard to deal with the harsh criticism of the music being faithful to Eric's score? Well, you know what? It's not so hard to deal with it if it would be, if the whole thing would have been released, people would have listened through it and would have experienced it, and then they would criticize it. Then you can say, okay, fair enough. They have invested the time, they have listened through it, and they can now give the criticism. But just because of a few snippets and they have not even experienced it the way it's supposed to be experienced in the game, to get that amount of criticism even in advance is just it's just silly. It's really stupid. I'm sorry to say it like that, but that's really what annoys me. It's not the criticism itself. If it's if it's constructive, of course I can use it. I can implement it in my work. If it's just like, oh fuck you, or your stuff is shit, okay, then I can just skip it because it's just sad people who just couldn't achieve anything in their lives, and they can just feel better about themselves by making other people feel bad. And so it's okay now. And I mean, it would be unfair to just go by the negative criticism, because I get so much love from all of you guys out there. It would be really mean just to sort of ignore that and just go by the bad things. That's why I try not to address it in the videos and so on that I upload, because I just think don't give people that amount of space for that stuff. Okay. Next question. Where would you rate the Bond actors? Who do you like the most and who do you like the least? Okay, that's a very good one. The most, obviously, Pierce Brosnan. That's a given. And after Pierce Brosnan, I think Roger Moore. I really love his movies. I just love that the sort of humoresque approach that he has. And next, Timothy Dalton. Then yes, Sean Connery is quite back there, and well, then the two remaining ones at the end. I don't know which of the two ones left I dislike more. Let's just say that, and let's just say one of them I met in person, and that I hold a very specific grudge against because he's just a downright bastard. There you have it. Okay, question from Alan Emanuel Davico from Argentina. Should Bond gamers be developed in the style of Call of Duty or PES? Should Bond games be developed in the style of Call of Duty? No, that's exactly what Ben also wants to avoid, which I absolutely I think alike. It should not be that Call of Duty sort of thing, because those Call of Duty games, they were great to a certain extent, but you just lose some sort of you lose a bit of the, how do you say, you lose a bit of, oh my God, what's the word? You lose a bit of control. You don't feel like in a game anymore. It's like the game is taking you by the hand and it's guiding you through everything, and you almost don't have to think, and it just feels like you have to go from one cutscene to another. And I think, I mean, the one thing they always say is that it has a reason why a game like GoldenEye 64, still almost or more than 20 years after its release, it's still a classic. It's still a cult classic. It's still talked about. It's still loved by millions of people all over the world. It's still being talked about all the time. And many modern games, they disappear sometimes even within the year of release. So I don't know which formula is better, but I think strictly talking by numbers, I think I think we know which way to go. And if anyway, if you combine the two worlds, the best of the two worlds, I think that's always the golden key. Okay. I think it's inevitable that Natalia will be annoying. Yeah, well, at least not at least not as annoying as Tanya Roberts in was it You to Kill? Oh my God, that gal was just out of this world. Okay, now I'm catching up. Now we're getting live. I'm sorry, it's taking some time, but now I'm getting live. I played Perfect Dark only once, but I didn't understand the thing. Found it pretty confusing. Yeah, well, probably that's why I never got into it. Make more songs like The Man with No Face where you sing, you got a great voice. Oh, thank you. Don't tell anyone. I start to believe it. No, I mean, I did a couple of things where I sang. The last one was with The Man with No Face, and I did a blues album sort of in the style of Randy Newman, which is one of my favorite composers as well. And I did a couple of songs where I actually sang. And then that theme song for that Bond fan movie, I Only Need One, a couple of years back. You can find all that stuff, but well, thank you. I appreciate you. You think I have a nice voice for singing, but it's more. Yeah, no, it's okay. Thank you very much. Anyway, I don't want if you like it, that's perfect. But yeah, I'll keep doing it. I don't mind if people buy it or not. Okay. Oh, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, go away. Get out of here. Oh, man. Talking about actors, have you been able to reach Pierce Brosnan and Sean Bean? No, we have not. We have not even tried because, well, maybe we will even at one point, but it's not intended. I mean, we have sort of found a way where we can make the actor look something like the original, but it's not quite a copy with all the characters, like with Piers, like with Sean, like with Zukovsky, like with Gottfried John, who played Ormov. So there's a likeness, and you will certainly recognize them. But it's just very complicated. But we'll see about that. Ja, ich kenne den aus Sultans of Swing natürlich. Aber wenn hier mit OHMSS kommst, Scheiße. Okay, sorry, I will just quickly switch to Swiss German, just because that's a friend of mine. That's we're in a band together, and he keeps busting my balls because I hate On Her Majesty's Secret Service. And then you can start to put the pieces together with the actor that I mentioned before, and then why and so on. Anyway. And I think he hates GoldenEye, or just doesn't like it. Yeah, and you're rightfully asking yourself why we're in the same band. I don't know either. Maybe get out of this band soon. Is there a chance that Pierce Brosnan and Sean Bean could contribute with their voice talents? You know what? Those people. If they're not, I think Pierce Brosnan is a cool guy and Sean Bean as well, but they're big stars. I don't know if you can really get them for that. And well, like I said, maybe we'll try to ask them at one point, but it's already hard to get in touch with them. But I don't know why they would be on board for something like this. Really, of course, something that we also thought about was to get voice impersonators on board. But to be honest, I've looked online many times and looked for people, and I didn't hear many good Pierce Brosnan impersonations, for example, as of now, because it's just, if you think about it, if you try to reproduce it, it's a very standard voice, but then again, it's very special, so it's really hard to do. One thing that I've noticed is that he always sounds like he just woke up from very deep slumber, He's like, he always has that little bit, that's I say that with all my love. And back in the old Bond games, like the ones we talked before, The World's Not Enough, Tomorrow Never Dies, they had voice impersonators. And I went back and checked who those actors were, because I think they really sold the effect back then, but that was also due to the restrictions in the technology. So you had the recording sounded really bad by today's standards, and so sounding bad was good for them because you couldn't really hear that clearly how it sounded, and so it was better to sell the effect. It's like when you're trying to impersonate someone. It's easier when you put a telephone filter on it. Then you can you can hide away many of the things. Okay, Twine was one of the very first FPS games I ever played when I tried GoldenEye. I think GoldenEye team made a lot of decent games after GoldenEye, like the Time Splitter series. Yes, again, Perfect Dark, Time Splitters. I've never played them, but I just see online all the love those games get, and so they must be really good. I'm probably maybe at one point I can go into them. Question from I can't pronounce that name. El Hordenadi. Do you have to feel like a protagonist of a film game to compose the music? So that would mean that I have to feel like James Bond. Look at me. I don't think that's going to work out. No. I think no. I don't think. Well, I think. Oh, are you talking generally? I think. Hello, John McReason. Hi. Do you have to feel like a protagonist of film game to compose the music? Well, sorry, I think I misunderstood that question. When you're talking about scoring in general, yes, it helps. Sometimes it helps to understand why someone does something or get into his thoughts, because then you can feel what he's feeling and can translate that into music. As a composer, strictly speaking, you do nothing but translate. You translate feelings to music. That's basically all you do, and you follow a story. And that's all there's to it. And so the more you can get into it, the more beneficial it is for the thing. So, and that's also something I always said, is that when you get a good movie or a good short film or whatever it is, and you have good actors who can convey something, then you have a really easy job as a composer, because then you just have to follow them and you just react to them. But if you have a film where there's nothing coming out, or so many things are unclear, then it really gets hard, because then you have to figure out yourself and you have to come up with things, and the things you come up with maybe they don't align with what's going on in the movie. And so yeah, that's a bit tricky to do. But if what you get is nicely done, then it's really easy and also good to get into it. Okay, people lost many friends thanks to GoldenEye multiplayer. Yes, and smashed many controllers. I remember with a good friend, I don't, was it GoldenEye or was it Mario Kart? Well, just literally at one point, I just threw the controller, just across the room, because I was getting so upset. Smashed it, really. Okay. Thoughts on the Wii version of GoldenEye? Okay, let me say this first. I don't like to slag off people and stuff that people make, because there's always an effort behind it. There's always many people involved who have done their best to do something. But then again, you as a consumer, you have the right to criticize those things. And for me, GoldenEye Wii was a complete shit show, to be honest. First of all, replacing the actor with Daniel Craig. I can imagine probably that was also because of licensing reason, because they couldn't use the likeness of Pierce Brosnan. Maybe that's why they switched with Craig, or maybe it was also because they just said, you know what, we're in the Craig era now. But then again, I don't understand why they would put Craig in GoldenEye. I mean, it doesn't make sense. And then the music was pretty mediocre. Of course, for any other game, it would have been a great score, but it was nothing reminding of GoldenEye. And then you replace all the actors, Oromov and everything, with random characters who just don't look anything like in the original game, and don't bear any resemblance to anything of the GoldenEye universe. I mean, what's the point of that? Then just do a new Bond game altogether. That's why I just GoldenEye Wii. I'm just completely. That's really a game that gets me worked up just looking at it. It may be a silly question. No, there are no silly questions. You can ask anything. Have you heard of the Goldfinger 64 ROM hack? Yes. I visit the YouTube channels sometimes of Groslu as well, who does these walkthroughs and these gameplay videos. And I saw the Goldfinger ROM. I just love it's always these hacks. Also, the one that I found the funniest as of now was that what was that guy's name? 80s pop singer. Na 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 na. Rick Astley, the Rick Astley mod. That was so insane. You have all those 80s tunes with that Nintendo 64 sound engine, and then you have all those 80s pop singers characters. That was the most insane thing I ever did see in my life. And the Goldfinger ROM, I really love that idea. I really love that idea. It's so, and you know, they even did the cover for it, and it seems so legit, and it's like something that you can see now that could have been whatever it was, and I really love that. Also, the music sounds great, the arrangements are fantastic, and I really love that. Is a nickname, okay, note, El Hero de Nadia is a nickname to translate as Hero of Nobody. Oh, okay, that's referring to the name of the person who asked the question. Okay. Majuro or Mahuro OSS. I really want to see Everything or Nothing remake for the next gen consoles in 4K. Everything or Nothing. Well, that one I didn't play as well because that was only for consoles, and I have abandoned consoles after PlayStation 2, I think. But I've seen many cutscenes and in-game videos. That I think, yeah, that would look like a decent James Bond game. At one point I think they're even still my YouTube channel. I have rescored some of the cutscenes. I think the first one or two, and I wanted to take all the cutscenes and throw them together to a movie and rescore that, but that eventually it didn't work out because I think it was due to, well, you couldn't get one coherent movie together. And you know, rescoring cutscenes is really difficult because sometimes cutscene lasts for 10-15 seconds and you can't do a music build up or anything. You just have to go in and you know, it's very awkward. And again, the cutscenes had implemented music and it made it difficult to sort of do, you know. How will you manage to the GoldenEye dossier? Question by the GoldenEye dossier. How will you manage the dynamic music system with the cheats on GoldenEye 25? So, GoldenEye dossier, could you please be a little more specific how you mean that question? How the cheats with the music, you think as in if you're able to go through faster, or just if you could just elaborate that a bit, and I'll happily answer that. Okay, Dalek Enclave, how many languages can you speak? So mother tongue is German, Swiss German. I can speak German, Swiss German, French because we're just on the French border here. A tiny bit of Italian, a tiny bit of Russian, a little bit of Spanish, English, obviously, and yeah, I think that's about it. But I can understand many languages. Well, with the possible exception of Russian. That's find a very hard language to get your head around. Okay, so now we're getting yeah, now I'm catching up. This is really cool. I'm enjoying this very much. I hope you enjoy it too. If you have any suggestion or anything, just tell me. I'm really enjoying this, by the way. I think that's really cool, and I love the interaction. There's something going on that's really great. Really love this. I'm just going to check Twitter and Facebook real quick, just in case somebody wrote me a question there when I don't have an account on YouTube. So I'm on Twitter and Facebook as well. So if you don't have a YouTube account, you can ask me there as well. Okay, GoldenEye dossier. In case someone decides to fool around with rocket launches or gun cheats, etc., instead of following the objectives. Well, we'll have to test that. Yeah, I get where you want to go with this. You're loving this as well. Thank you very much. Well, if you fool around and stuff, it's also with the speed running thing. That's also something we got to have in the back of our heads, because sometimes in some levels, I just did a test this morning, by the way, of statue. I've taken Ben's video. Ben, who's the the lead of GoldenEye 25. He's also done a few speedrun or walkthrough videos, and I played back the video and had the music engine in Wise of my music, and sort of performed it live. I did the switches and everything. And I have to say I have to do some adjustments because sometimes it's really too slow for the gameplay. Now Ben, of course, he was quite fast and everything, but still in that case, it's got to be able to keep up with what you do. But that's something we'll find out in a testing phase. And maybe it's even possible that in some levels we'll have to get rid of because sometimes we have the standard music that's going on, then we have an alert version and an action version. And that's stuff we have to figure out in a testing phase, because sometimes, it's bad if then it switches all the time. That cannot happen. So we have to figure out how we're going to do that exactly. And sometimes maybe it's even possible that we would get rid of some action cues and just leave it on the standard track, just in order to avoid constant switching of the music and driving you insane. I saw you play it again, damn video. Will all the missions have that kind of music phases, or will some missions have just an action track? It's completely different. So Statues, for example, that's the one I just talked about, has the most dynamic music system, because I think that has about 12 to 13 phases, because you have the more subtle parts, then you have the action parts, and then you also have not cutscenes, but then you have also things where the music kicks in and reacts to the gameplay. So they have that. And in levels that are fast-paced, Train, for example, which is a very fast-paced pumping level, they don't have those tracks. They just have action tracks all the way. And in between, maybe they address some events. Like, for example, let's stick with CeeLo. That has a very fast-paced track. And then until you run into Oromov, then it will go into a slightly different phase. And when he runs off, it goes back to the action again. And so it depends, it's very different. Okay, I heard you find some iconic sounds from the GoldenEye 64 music itself. I heard the preset Metal Vapor from the Pro Toys, for example. Yes, Metal Vapor. The Pro Toy samples, I have the actual rack, not the digital version. I have the actual module here, and the problem is many of those sounds, they are very low-fi. You almost can't use them, so you have to find digital counterparts. Also, the famous the sonar sound. Many people claim that it's from the Pro Toys, but that's not the case. There is a sound. It's called Infinity One. But that's not the one that was used in the movie GoldenEye. That was the one that was used in the game. But in the movie, it was much clearer sound. That was an actual tambourine sample, just detuned and slightly processed. And yeah, Metal Vapor. Again, I love that sound. But I use that very sparingly because again, it's a very lo-fi sound. You have to do quite a lot of processing to make it work. I have implemented it in Surface 1 or 2, I think, just as an effect. Very much, the background, but still it reminds you a little bit. I do own a JV 1080 and a Protoss FX. Also own a DX7. Oh, nice selection. Yeah, DX7. That's over there. I use that quite frequently too, because I also have a few expansion cards that have even more sounds on them. And in the JV 2080, I have an additional card. Cost me a fortune for such a little card with about, I think, 300 sounds on it. Cost me $150. It was a special effects card. Very seldom, and I got that, but it was worth it. It has great sounds on it. Sounds that you can just load up, and then you just have instantly you can hear like that Eric Serra vibe. Okay. GoldenEye dossier, will an instrumental suite of Experience of Love or Forever James be played in the end credits? No, I don't think so. It's not planned as of now. And we haven't even talked about end credits, if there will be something like that or how they're going to look. Uh, we'll see. In case Bond kisses Natalia in the jungle, as in the original, it looks like the only time where romantic music could be used. Maybe. The only vintage synth I own is an SH201. But you just quickly have to Google that. I don't even know what that is. SH. Could you tell me, by the way, how do you pronounce your name? Osmund or Osmund Hein Shai? How is that pronounced? Okay, Roland SH201. Never seen that one. I own a vintage JV80. Okay, orchestral JV80, world JV80. I spoke with GoldenEye composer Graham Norgard on email. He used those for the music. Oh, okay, good to know. Very interesting. Yeah, there's those old composers from the GoldenEye. They're very great guys. I mean, great. I've never spoken to Graham Norgard, but I've talked to Grant Kirkhope many times, and he was a very kind guy. He listened to some of my stuff and gave me some feedback on it, and he was always very supportive. I asked him stuff like, you think I could make it in music, movie and game music, and he said, yeah, of course, let's go for it. And very supportive guy, very cool guy. And I always have a very special feeling about this when you can talk to people like that define your childhood. I mean, it's sometimes I lay down in bed in the evening and I just think, did that just really happen? Is that possible? He was a cool guy. Yeah, exactly. I can imagine that. Graham Norgard as well was a cool guy. Okay, second one was more correct. That's referring to the name. So Osmund. O, is it an O or is it an A? Osmund. Esmund? Or can I just swallow it? Can I just say Esmund? I bought the JV and FX for the Grand Kirkup sound. Were you happy? Did it work for you? With the JV and the FX? Yeah, more like O. Osmund. Osmund. Am I getting closer? And do you say Mund or Mund? Or Mund? Osmund. Okay. GoldenEye dossier. How many Bond locations and or Bond stars or directors have you met? Oh my goodness. Now we're getting okay. I hope you have nothing to do with it next hour. Okay. I hope you are not a fragile person or a specific anti-smoker, because I'm just about to light one. I'm sorry. I just have to sometimes, it just makes me feel, and I enjoy this so much. I hope it's okay for you. And okay, getting back to the GoldenEye dossier. So how many Bond locations have you visited first? Okay, there are very many. Fortunately, if you live in Switzerland, there are many locations from Bond movies nearby. The one I remember the most and I love the most was the GoldenEye Dam, the Contra Dam, the Vasaska Dam. It's about 1.5 car hours drive away from where I live. So you have to imagine I live in Valais, that's just down south in Switzerland, and we're just on the border of Italy, on the border to France, and so there's everything around. So I was about 1.5 hours, and I was there with my great friend Benjamin Lind. We did some shooting there for his Bond documentary, Bond for Life. And that was just fantastic. I mean, as a GoldenEye freak, that's just as great as it can get. I love that so much. That location, standing on top of that dam, my God, it was such an ultimate experience. And it was on a holiday day, and there were not many people. It was really enjoyable. And then what did I see as well? The Fokker Pass, the pass from Goldfinger. That's about 1 hour away from where I live. That's still in Valais. I drive over that to visit my best friend many times, about, well, maybe 6 to 8 times a year. That's a great location too. And what else? Bern, where a lot of On Her Majesty's Secret Service was shot. Shildhorn, Piz Gloria, again on Her Majesty's Secret Service. And other than that, have there been other locations that I've visited? I think that's about. I've visited many places in my life. I was fortunate to have parents that took me all over the world, but not specifically Bond locations. I think I was in Bilbao once, and I saw the Guggenheim Museum and that stuff. But I think that was even pre-Bond, before I got into The World Is Not Enough. So I was there basically, but I can't even remember it properly. It was certainly before I was a Bond fan, and so it didn't mean anything, so to speak. Well, don't go tell the tourism board from Bilbao. Oh well, I was at the Guggenheim Museum. It didn't mean anything to me. I was not a Bond fan back then. Okay. And how many Bond stars and directors have you met? Many, because I was very fortunate. Through my friendship with Benjamin, I was brought into the film festival in Brunswick, and there we could meet many, and always, not even for the official things that went on, the screenings and so on, but we could accompany them and then get to spend time with them, go to eat with them. Some of the people, Béatrice Libert was one of the Moonraker girls. Corinne Cléry was also one of the Moonraker girls. She was the woman who flew the helicopter with Bond. She was a lovely lady. We spent a lot of time with her. And John Glenn, obviously, very special story with him that I'll never forget in my life. Where he basically, in the end, where we could screen something that I have scored, a tribute that Benjamin put together, and then I've scored, and we sat in the cinema. John Glenn was right behind us, and that thing came blasting on the screen. And after that, it was such an intense experience. Really, I had the shakes after that. It was so intense to sit in a cinema, to hear your music on the big cinema speakers, to know that John Glenn is sitting right behind you, and watching something that you did. And then I went out to have a smoke. And then, of course, he was always surrounded by many people because, yeah, well, of course, it's John Glenn, 5-time Bond director. And then he came out because he had to get some fresh air, and he would just walk right to me, shook my hand, and he said, "You did a great job on that." And that whole experience was one of the most unforgettable things I've ever experienced in my life. And another one I would like to mention is Götz Otto, who played Stamper in Tomorrow Never Dies. The tall German one. He was such a fantastic guy. But I don't want to give away that story too early, because that's going to be in one of the upcoming episodes of Swiss Connection on the Bond Bulletin. We talk about that as well, so that you get the whole story there, because otherwise we're going overboard with this. And yes, but that was John Glenn was the Bond director that I met. I'd love to meet Martin Campbell one day. I'll forever love that man just for making GoldenEye. All-time favorite movie. And yeah, I think that's about it with the Bond star. No, there were more, but Roger Moore had his chalet very, very nearby, where he lived about, I think, 3 to 4 months a year. It's in Crans-Montana. It's about 20 minutes from where I live. And my brother did what's that called in English? He was a baker. He did bakery, stuff. And he told me many times that Roger Moore, often in the morning, he would get into the bakery, and then he would get his stuff there, his bread, and then maybe some things, just some things to eat. Always told me was a very nice guy, very approachable. And here in Switzerland, we don't have that sort of person cult. So people are being left alone, more or less. I mean, Tina Turner, who sang GoldenEye, lives in Zurich, which is about 2 hours away from here. And I know some people who she lives in sort of a gated community, but I know some people that have been in that area. And you drive by and you see her do her gardening in leggings and so on. And she would wave. She must be a very, very, very nice person, because like I said, they're being left alone more or less, and so they don't have that. That's why many artists move to Switzerland. Phil Collins is, I don't know if is he still in Switzerland or he was in Switzerland. David Bowie as well. So we have a lot of stars here. We used to have a lot of stars. Okay, and well, of course, I also met some people from Her Majesty's Secret Service. I met George Lazenby, which I'm not going to say more because I don't want to get a lawsuit or anything. Let's just say I wish I never met him. My favorite classic Bond movie will be Goldfinger, while my second favorite will be either GoldenEye or License to Kill. Yeah, License to Kill. I love that one very much too. I think it's very interesting to see that amount of brutality in a Bond film. Normally you're used to that. Great score, Robert Davi as the villain, Dalton doing a fantastic job. I love that one as well. Goldfinger 2. Goldfinger is a great movie. Speaking of supportive people, this is true. I was in dialogue with Universal Music for a license. I wanted to use the LOTR music in a fan project, and they gave me UGC YouTube license. Oh, okay, cool. Let me just look up something. Now I'm really embarrassing myself as a Bond fan. LOTR. Oh, Lord of the Rings. Oh, okay, it's not even Bond. Well, that's the magic of life. Will you do more live sessions with us? Well, if you enjoy it, and if I would, like I said, the thing I was most worried about is that nothing is going on, and I'm sitting here by myself and just sipping on my coffee and just smoking cigarettes and just hoping for someone to write. But this is really cool. This is really great. That's why I love. And by the way, I just want to throw this in occasionally. I do this in the videos as well, but I really, really sincerely mean it. That I love, and it really means a lot. And it really keeps me going to get all those comments and the interest from you people. I mean, that's really something that I appreciate very, very much. That's not taken for granted, and I'm always thankful for each and every comment, for every like and everything. That's really that's the juice that keeps us going. So yeah, absolutely, I can do more live sessions if you're up for it, and if the demand will be there. Absolutely, why not? Next time, probably even do it on a weekend, so even more people will be able to join in. I realize it's in the middle of the week, and depending on which time zone you're in, you're probably still at work, or you're still on your way back home, or whatever. But I thought I'd do this in the middle of the week because just because this was supposed to be a test, and I thought, well, to give it a go. But if you want, of course, more live sessions, absolutely. I'm enjoying this very much. Do you think the 1990s beyond Bond and GoldenEye was a golden era for action movies? And since you mentioned Martin Campbell, do you follow his career outside Bond? Yes, certainly 90s. Also the 80s and 90s, because if you look at my list of movies that I like or love most, they're probably they're all from the 80s and 90s. Because there was something about that time, when they still haven't completely figured out digital technology, and they still were reliant on model work and stuff like that. It was by far better than any computer generated image. That was much better. There was much more care put into scores. The composers had much more freedom to come up with tunes and individual stuff, and be original, and do something that fitted the project. And yeah, my most favorite movies, they're all from the 80s and 90s, basically, really. If you think, we're talking about classics like Die Hard, Rambo, RoboCop, really all the classics. And of course the 90s. I love the 90s very much for all those Harrison Ford films that he did. All those. Now I could just think of the German names of the movies, but when he plays Richard Kimball, and these things, 6 Days, 7 Nights, also the more funny stuff. That was, yeah. I think generally the 90s were a better age for movies than they were now. Also enjoyed the Star Wars, The Phantom Menace. I think it was 1999, was it? The Phantom Menace. 1990, yeah. Also enjoyed that. Looks like 90s. Love it. Air Force One, yes, Ben. Thank you very much. Of course, Air Force One. How could I forget that? Oh, I love Gary Oldman in that movie. Oh man, Gary Oldman is one of those actors. I just love him. He's so great in Leon as well. You know, when he plays that completely psychopathic guy. Yeah, 90s were just fantastic for movies. And Martin Campbell, no, I don't specifically. You know, usually I don't look at a movie and think, oh, there's a great director. I have to watch that. Usually I'm more drawn towards the actors that star or that are in there. Um, Sometimes it happens that I watch a movie that I have, you know, and also I don't gather information before I watch a movie. I don't watch it and see, okay. But sometimes I think, okay, this is a really great movie. Probably it could be from one of those directors that I love. Then I go see, oh, okay, Robert Zemeckis. Okay, that figures. Love that guy. Great movies. Martin Campbell. Okay, well, that makes sense, and so on. Okay, GoldenEye 25. What if a god runs out of ammo? Maybe it can take up a gun from a dead god. And Ben has just replied, I'm not sure yet. It's pretty advanced. I'll think about it for sure, though. Yes, exactly. Well, guys, don't forget we still got 3 years to go, so there's still many things to figure out, and to many of the things also. You know, we can come up with the things now and just say something, and maybe when we'll test out, it won't work. So many things can be subject to change. Oh, hi, Champ. Nice to see you. Thank you for all the work you do for GoldenEye and all sharing and love and all that. Really great. You know what we really need? Live and Let Die 2. Somebody still lives. And howdy. Yeah, somebody. Jeffrey Holden. He died, I think. Well, not in the movie. I think the actual actor died. When was that? 2, 3 years ago? Wait just a second. Jeffrey Holden. Holder? Huh? Holder, not Holden. Yeah, 2014. My God, time flies. Live and Let Die 2. Yeah, well, but you know what? With Roger Moore, without Roger Moore, without Jeffrey Holder. GoldenEye dossier, the Jack Ryan ones, Patriot games, Clear and Present Danger. Yes, exactly. Those yes, those are the ones I was talking about. Thank you very much. Yes, I love those movies. And also, they many times they have the Jerry Goldsmith scores that just are fantastic. Love that. I think the scores from the past decades were better too. I don't see myself being into. No, what I don't like about modern scores is, and that applies to James Bond and everything, is that you can listen to that stuff in the movies, and you can just help but think, okay, this could be from any movie, and it could be in any movie, and that's what I don't like. But then again, you can't even blame the composers for doing that. That's, the studios and the executives and so on. They dictate that. I mean, even you could even comment in as composer and say, "Hey, look, I figured out that great tune and that great theme. Let me play that for you. I want to show it to you. Let's use that. Let's go with a great theme." And I said, "No, no, 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 no. We don't want we don't want to have anything outlandish, nothing that's too risque. Let's just go with something that hardly anybody notices, okay? And just do that, and you're good to go." And by the way, I don't know when I last bought a soundtrack. That's really a long, long time ago. I think the last one that I bought was Die Another Day, probably. Yes, Jeffrey Holder died in 2014, right? Yeah. Will there be an entire soundtrack for when the conveyor button is pressed on facility? An entire soundtrack? How do you mean that? Can you just elaborate a bit? Can't do it without Roger. Live and Let Die too. No, no. Man, that was really. I remember that day when Roger Moore died. That was really. I got really sad that day, because I mean he was such an uplifting and such a. He was really one of those men to look up to. Oh, you're kidding. Okay. Yeah, not about Roger Moore. I mean about the conveyor belt. Yeah, Roger Moore. I that day really saddened me. I was really gobsmacked when I read that. Also, I think also because of the proximity that he was so nearby. And I know so many people who told stories about him. Like say, my brother, who used to see him occasionally when he came in the bakery, and a girl who worked at the same place where I work once told a story that he visited Zermatt with his wife, and then sometimes they would get a call in the morning, and then all of a sudden the boss of the barber shop would give the instructions that in the afternoon, 2:30, they're going to close the barber shop down for 2 hours. We're going to have a very important person in here, and then they would close down the barber shop, and then Roger Moore would come in, with his wife, and they would both get the haircut. And she told me as well that both him and his wife were very kind and very very good people, and I think they also, not entirely sure, but I think she even told me that they were quite generous with the tips afterwards. Dalek Enclave, have you been in any original projects, Yannick? I would love to hear more projects from you. Yes, I have done the score for that series, that mini series, Year of Spies. It's sort of also spy stuff. And then I did some of my own albums, like I said, a blues album, some 80s recordings. And as a film music, I did one of the things that was even got me a Gold Award, would you believe, was the score for that Overwatch short film, Lion's Return, that I've scored. Well, again, it's not entirely original work. We had quite a few things. I was astonished last time when I watched the. Sometimes on my homepage, I have to update the projects that I've been in. It's been quite a few now. Really, for me, just messing around with keyboards and stuff, I have done quite a few things. Yeah. Tarkzur, will you upload the full version of GE25's Facility Music at some point? Can't wait for the soundtrack release. It's kick-ass. Thank you very much. Yes, there will be the whole music will be released at one point once the game has been released. So sorry, you have to still wait 3 years. But yes, there's going to be a whole soundtrack release, and the way that's going to go down, because some of the levels are very dynamic, as I said before, and you have different phases, you have different transition pieces and outros, intros, and stuff like that. And I always compile them to one continuous suite, and so that's the way it's going to be released. So every level it's going to have its suite, and it's going to wind up on a soundtrack. And practically 99%. Right, I have to leave BBQ tomorrow. Okay, Osmund, thank you very much for joining. See you next time. Thank you very much. Have a good one. Yeah, coming back to the soundtrack. So there will be a release, yes, and each and every level is going to have its suite. There's always somewhere between 12 to 30 minutes per suite. And of course, there's going to be all the extra content like the elevator tunes, the watch theme, the menu music, unused material. But now I've done I think I'm working on the 14th level right now, and as of now the whole music together is is 3.5 hours. So there will be a lot of music for you to download and to discover. Really looking forward to that release. I think that's going to be it's going to be a good one. I'm really proud of that soundtrack because it has a lot of the Eric Serra stuff. It works nicely. It's nicely tied together. It still has a bit of original content, that I came up with myself. So it's a nice blend, I think. I hope. Okay. Let me just quickly check the social media again, not to miss anything. There have been any questions? Yes. Okay. That's fine and well so far. Okay, still 10 people around. That's cool. 11 people. There was any advice on collaborating with musicians? Well, you know what? I was fortunate. I have now. Meanwhile, I I sort of have a list of musicians that I work together with, and many of them got in touch with me first. So that was always good to know, because then you know they're interested and they want to work with you. That's always a good thing to know, because you always want to be very careful about getting people on board that just do it for the money. They just want to they just want to have a paid gig and not really are full-heartedly in there. But generally, a good suggestion I think would be to before you get actually into business with them, is to talk with them a bit and see if the two of you click and if the two of you get along, because that's always the most important basis for any collaboration, really. And that's one thing to look out for, because if you get along, many things can be avoided, and many things can be set up properly. So that's the most important thing, I think, when it comes to collaborations. If the gun barrel is not featured on GoldenEye 25 due to copyright, will there be something equally iconic as an intro? Yes, that's a good point you bring up there. We are going to avoid the gun barrel because, of course, we rely on many of the intellectual property material of Eon Productions. And there are things that are more, sort of more dangerous to touch, and there are things that are more delicate, I want to say, and some things that are easier. But the gun barrel is one of those very iconic things that should be avoided, and that's why we say we want to do something else, something original. And what we did is we did a concept art of that, what we plan to do, and I think it works quite nicely. There could be a cool little surprise. It's still a bit of a throwback. It's still something reminding of a gun barrel, but it's still something completely fresh. So there's something I wanted to show you as well. You know what? Because right now I'm working. I just have to switch on my keyboard real quick. I hope you can hear this over the speakers. Maybe if one of you could just quickly tell me if you'll be able to hear that, because I want to show you something. Right now, the next level I'm getting to work on is caverns. And one day I just had that great idea for a riff, for a melody for caverns, and I thought, wow. Just a second. Can you hear those notes? A little bit, or is it too silent? Ah, okay, great, okay. So the thing that I thought of, then I think it was at work. Okay, I think it was at work that I had this idea for this melody. I thought, wow, that's going to work great for caverns. I have to. The thing that I was doing, I take out my smartphone and I just go like, just randomly or just approximately whistle what I want to, just so I don't forget the idea. And that was the idea that I have for the melody for caverns. Now, why I show you this is because it's never going to get used, and I'm going to tell you why. So this was basically the idea of the melody. Okay, and then we'll go on like that, and then launch into the bomb theme. We'll go like. Something like that. That was the idea that I had. Now, why I'm not going to use this, I'm going to show you. I was playing this, and as I was figuring out the notes themselves, I noticed something. I just kind of, oh no, shit. I'm going to show you what it sounds like. I didn't do this on purpose, but it was just so that I found it out. Okay. Let's just change one or two notes of what I just played you, and see what we wind up with. Well, that was not completely right. Yeah, sounds brilliant, right? Do you remember it? Na na ni, na na ni, na 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 na. Yes, The Godfather, exactly. And I thought, oh shit, no, why? And I just tried to, to change even more notes to get rid of this. But I thought, you can, if just one person is going to recognize that theme, because it shares a lot of the same notes, like the Godfather theme. And I was just like, oh no shit, why? It was such a great sound, and it was so nice with the Bond theme. The whole thing worked so perfectly, and I just had to say, no. If just one person is going to recognize and is going to go like, oh, this is the Godfather theme. I mean, it doesn't have to do anything with caverns, much less Bond. The last thing I want to do, I want to think about when I walk through the caverns is think about Bond. And I think about the Godfather. Unless you're in some sort of a level in a Sicilian restaurant or something like that. And so, yeah, I had to discard that idea, and I was really mad. And another thing that I came up with, and maybe that's what I'm going to use, but I found a pad on one of the synthesizers that really had that ethereal sound, and I started to play a few chords, and then I just went, oh yeah, it sounds great, sounds very eerie, ambiguous, sounds very interesting and intriguing, but it just lacked the beat. Well, I don't have to follow the original Caverns music from the game. Um, but that would be a bold move, just to go with a very ethereal pad sort of melodic structure and have some sort of caverns-like sounds, like something that resemble dripping water and rocks and stuff like that. Maybe I'll do that, but I just have to come up with a different arrangement, because the thing that I played almost sounded like Enya. So, well, but honestly, I have to say that's the first time when I do some music for GoldenEye 25 where I really run into some troubles, because I can't seem to figure something out as of now. And I've tried a few days and came up with different ideas, but I mean, we're looking for Caverns music, right? And we've gone from The Godfather to Enya, so I probably wind up with Michael Jackson or something like that. Well, anyway. Most likely at one point I will figure something out. But that's really, and that's why I was always so hesitant to do live streams of me composing, because the worst thing that could happen is really that you hear me for 1 or 2 hours going like oh no, that's incredibly boring. I mean, it's no good. Or even worse, browsing for sounds for hours. Okay. I did use some GoldenEye sounds for an original theme on a tracker file. I think sampling through synths can be pretty tricky at times. Yeah, tell me about it. But I used that iconic lead sound from the game for it. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, that's always a good way, because some of those synths that I have in the studio, they're 20 and 30 years and older, and they're all in a pretty good shape. I have to say I was spared the worst things as of now. But the thing is that still sometimes they have a few glitches or something like that, and so sometimes it's easier to sample a few sounds and then use the sample within the digital workstation. It's just easier, because then you don't have to mind the glitches, and you don't have to do. One thing that I have many problems with is the one of the MU synthesizers, the one I use for the timpani for this. Synthesized timpani. That one has a problem with has a problem with node repetition. So if you play the dum 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 timpani thing, it starts to lose some notes, and then it just does dum 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 dum. It's this weird stuff, and so it would be easier to sample this one time and then just use that. instead of going through all that trouble. And then I have the very old analog synthesizer, the Juno 60, which is from 1983, I think, and that has no presets and nothing, and you have to adjust everything manually. And that's really the stuff that nightmares are made of. It's I remember one day when I did recording, I think it was for DAM, for GoldenEye 25. It has some sort of when you go into when you're on the DAM, when you go underneath in those corridors and the office where the computers are, I have some bass note, and I wanted to have an old analog synthesizer to play that bass. And I just spent about 15 minutes setting it up and getting all the right things, getting the sound dialed in perfectly. Then I recorded the line, and then I was done with it. And then I shut off the keyboard. And then I just remembered, oh no, there's an end section to this part. And I really had to turn the synthesizer on again. And of course, everything, all the adjustments you did are gone by then, because then you just have the standard presets. And then I had to spend another 15 minutes getting the sound right again. So that's, and and I have a concert in 1 or 2 weeks, a memorial concert for a friend who died at a very young age of cancer. We're going to play some songs live, in his memorial, and we're also going to do "Power of Love" by Huey, Lewis and the News. Great band. I just love their songs. And I'm going to use that old 80s synthesizer as well, because "Power of Love," of course, got to have an 80s synthesizer on the stage. And I'm pretty anxious to. This has never been moved out of my studio ever since I got it 2-3 years ago, and to get this on the road, I'm a little bit nervous about. And I literally had to take a picture with the phone. Well, that's something you could have said 40 years ago. I had to take a picture with my phone. How great is that? And really take a picture of all the settings, because I sort of tried to recreate the synth sound from The Power of Love. And I had to take a photo because I use this quite frequently, that synthesizer. And then you do new presets, and then you do new adjustments. Right now, I just did a recording over the weekend where I needed to have that and completely different sounds. And so now I know I'm going to have to dial all the stuff in again before I get on stage. Probably do that at home, because well, when you have to set up the stuff on stage, you don't have like 15 to 20 minutes to dial in a sound. Yeah, well, that's that, right? Hopefully this is not terribly boring. Sorry for your loss. Yeah, thank you very much. He was a very, very, very great guy. He was not a close friend, as you would call it, but he was very open and very, very polite and kind man. He never missed one of our concerts of our rock and roll band. He always came to every concert. He always was in a good mood. He always supported us, and yeah, he was a good man. And I'm very glad I could join that band to play a few songs for his memorial. And the song that he always loved the most when he visited our concerts was Blueberry Hill. And I remember many times when he could go to the concerts, he would just basically start, and you could just see him start to dance. That was really. And so we said, at the end, we're going to get all the musicians that are present that day on the stage, and we're going to perform Blueberry Hill. So that's farewell. That's how you do that. Okay, new questions coming in. Thank you very much for your condolation. Thank you. In GoldenEye 25, there's a chance the golden gun and military laser shot effects on Egyptian Aztecs sound like the ones from The Man with the Golden Gun and Moonraker, as it did with the AK-47 and the sound of GoldenEye. Yes, exactly. So I did sort of an in-between thing. Our lasers sound like a little bit like in the game and a little bit like in the movie. Because the movie ones, they sound really odd. They sound like it was, and the ones in the game, they sound really cool. But I think we have a nice in-between solution for that, for those sounds. Sound design, anyway, for GoldenEye 25, something I enjoy so much. It's really the AK-47 was one of the things I was most concerned about, because in the original movie, I loved that sound design so much. And all the guns, again, that's one of those merits of the 90s action movies. They used to the guns, they all sounded so incredibly fat. It started in the 80s, when you like the first Die Hard, when Bruce Willis would fire a Beretta, and another movie would just like, and when you watch Die Hard, it's just like, like, and it's funny if you go look for these sounds. By the way, GoldenEye the game had a lot of those sounds that were popular at that time from movies. So many of those, the shotgun sounds, the ZMG sound, the D5K sound, they were all popular sounds at that time from movies. And it's funny when you see those sounds. For example, let's stay with the gun. You heard so many times when the pistol is fired in those old movies, really that fat sound, like so, when you thought, well, that was sounded so great, but then you go and look for the original file, you can never look for a gun sound, because what they used for tiny pistols were actually sounds coming from big sniper rifles or shotguns, and they used those, and they, of course, that's why they sounded so fat, but they used those for the handguns. And I think the sound that we love so much from the AK in GoldenEye was actually a sound. I found the original. It was a sound of an M60. So the big heavy machine gun. That's where that sound comes from, and they used it for the AK-74 or 47. I'm Dalek Enclave. I'm back. My internet went mad. Sadly, I could not hear your thing on sent. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I think this should be technically possible, right? I Once this live stream is done, I'm going to re-upload it on YouTube, so you can all watch it. Well, probably not again, but for those who haven't seen it or missed it, can go watch it. One of my favorite sounding guns in GoldenEye was the Club, says Rob D. Yeah, well, it certainly was a very a sound that stood out very much. It was a very recognizable sound, but I was not able, as of now, to recover that sound, or found the original file, or where it originally stems from, or what it was called originally, so I could look for it. But we have a sound now. I think it's not quite. It doesn't sound completely like the original, but it's very close. It was very close, the one we have. But then again, I was able to recover many of the sounds. The most recent was the DD44 sound, the Destove sound. And I'm so happy I found that, because I've sort of patched something together that was equally, fat sounding, but it was not the original. And the DD44, and I know from many people, also Ben, is very particular about that sound, because that's one of the guns we loved so much, because it just, and sure many of you had that as well, that you just go through the level with the DD44 just because it sounded so massive and you know and the sound was so hard to find, because it was actually not a gun sound. It was actually a sound from a small explosion, and I found that very sound file, and got a license, and then brought it in, and but it was quite, the recording was not so good, because like I said, it's an old sound again, an old sound of a small explosion. Then I mixed in a few things a little bit, just to push it a bit and make it a little bit more modern sounding. But believe you me, I love the original sound, and it's very, very close. So you'll get that DD44 sensation again. I'm listening. I never dealt with glitches on my synths. The JV and Protoys FX played okay on my DAWs. Well, no, it doesn't happen often, but it's sometimes it happens. I think it's really just with I have it back here. It's the Protoys. Let me just look that up real quick. Oh, Protoys 2. It's the orchestral module. That one just glitches a bit, and sometimes the knobs they don't work properly. But no, they're still cool to work with. It's not it's not a massive problem, but it's just sometimes just better safe than sorry, right? Yes, exactly. There was something else I wanted to talk about, and I think it was regarding GoldenEye. Oh, new questions coming in. I've recently played GoldenEye 64 again and noticed the infinite spawning enemies to be so annoying. Will you recreate this AI behavior as well? And if so, give us an option to limit AI respawn. That would really hinder me enjoying exploring your remastered levels. I think in some levels, maybe Ben, if you're still watching, maybe that's something that you could answer. But best to my recollection, or the way I can remember, is that we'll have a few levels or few places and levels where actually we'll have respawning enemies. But I'm not entirely sure if it's going to be exactly everywhere like in the original. I'm sure Ben can clear that up. Yeah, there was something about, yeah, we was just talking about GoldenEye before. So I was just asking myself, there was a question in the very beginning. Oh, Ben just answered. I plan to remove the respawning guards from all levels except the end of facility, runway control, and creative. Okay, fair enough. I was thinking of getting a Protoys 2 in terms of sample pack since I own FX, which is a lot of sounds from Protoys 1, Protoys MPS, and Protoys 2 together. Yeah, I have those sample packs for digital ones, you mean, right? I have all of those. They're good. They basically, you can use those. I mean, they're quite fantastic. By the way, if you're wondering, this is Rivella. This is our Swiss national beverage, so to speak. I think it was once they tried to market it and sell it in the US, but I think it completely bombed. I don't know why. I really love it. It's really refreshing. Well, it would be refreshing. It would be cold and not like warm piss because my fridge is broken. But anyway, yeah, I think it completely bombed. It's a little. You can imagine it's a little bit like ginger ale actually, but it's not. It doesn't have that ginger, that intense ginger flavor, but it's a little bit like ginger ale. So I really like that. Okay, this is more to Ben Dev actually, but wondering if the guards and scientists will still fly sky high when blown away with mines or rockets, and the funny death animations will be there. Want to talk about Bond games? Yeah, exactly. Ben. Ben just replied. Yes, definitely want the guards to fly from explosions. Yes, gotta have that. Probably some mix of animations and ragdolls for those, and for bullet deaths, I want animations. Yes, fantastic. Ben, I have said this so many times. I'm going to say it so many times again, more times the next 3 years. Doing a fantastic job. Such an honor and such a thrill to be on board of this. Really lucky. I want to talk about Bond games. Yes, of course. What is your favorites and your least favorites? My most favorite Bond game, yeah, obviously. Whoa, just have to turn off the keyboard again. It's playing piano all the time. Okay, there we go. The most favorite, of course, for various reasons, GoldenEye, all the way. But on the other side, I have to say that, of course, want it or not, we've grown accustomed to the modern games, and so when I play GoldenEye these days, if you strip away all the nostalgia and all the childhood memories, the mere gameplay itself it doesn't entertain me more than 10 to 15 minutes, and then I get bored of it. Of course, also because I've played it through so many times. But you can feel that these games age, and so that's why I love the idea of GoldenEye 25. Still bringing in a tiny bit of what you come to expect from a modern game as well, while still staying very much true to the original, but still make it a little bit more enjoyable. So yeah, that's my absolute favorite. The least favorite Bond game. Well, instantly I would go for GoldenEye Wii, but I've never actually played it. I just watched some gaming footage, and but the ones that I played, which was my least favorite? So let's go through them. Twine, like that very much. Tomorrow Never Dies, really enjoyed that too. Nightfire, found that cool. Agent on the Fire, really like that as well. And those are really the ones I've played. From Russia with Love, I read that supposed to be quite cool. GoldenEye Rogue Agent. Ben, yes, I saw gameplay footage of that, but then again, I never wanted to get into it because again, it bears the name GoldenEye, but then again, there's nothing GoldenEye to it. But a friend once suggested that to me. It's supposed to be a good game, right? If you don't expect something completely in the world of GoldenEye, but the game itself is supposed to be quite cool. I read or heard. The least favorite Bond game. That's difficult. From the ones I played, I try to remember. It's really hard to say. Because the ones I played, I really enjoyed them. Well, let's just go with GoldenEye Wii, even though I haven't played it myself. But that was a nasty piece of work. No, I'm not dodging any questions. No. My least favorite. So, Delight Conclave wrote, my least favorite will be GoldenEye remake. So you're talking about GoldenEye Wii as well. And my favorite Nightfire on consoles. Yes, I have played Nightfire only on PC. I think if my memory serves me well, I think the console had some advantages over the PC version. Is that right? With the music or the cutscenes or anything? Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Just had to listen to the club gun sound. Sounds like a pneumatic drill. Yes. Yes, it does. And the AK in the original GoldenEye game, I love that game so much, and I have nothing but love for it. But the AK sound in the game was so I remember when I was really young when I first played GoldenEye 64, but the AK sound was something I was never okay with. From the first bullets I fired in that game, I thought, oh no, that sound has to go. That sound has to be replaced. It's great to work with you. Thank you, Ben. Thank you very much. Thoughts on 007 Legends? Again, I have not played that because, um, again, I saw some footage and I watch footage and then I decide upon that if I want to play something on it. And then again, to me, it just appeared like a Call of Duty game, just with the Bond IP slapped on it. And nothing against Call of Duty. I mean, I like the first Modern Warfare's, but I want a Bond game. I want a Bond game, not a Call of Duty sort of remake. And again, stuff that Craig appears in, I usually avoid. But is it good? Did you play it? Is that any good? Did you ever play or see GoldenEye? Oh yes, we talked about that. Yes. Nightfire's on console had driving missions. Yes, exactly. That was the point, and better playability and quality. Okay, so I missed that because I played it on PC, but I found the PC version very enjoyable already. So also the soundtrack and everything. At very great guy too who did the part of the score for that. Ed Lima. He did the score for Nightfire. We chat a lot as well. He's a very great guy and very supportive as well. And yeah, that's cool too. Oh, GoldenEye Rogue Agent. You can also unlock villains from previous Bond movies. Oh, or is that in GoldenEye? Is that in 007 Legends? Oh, that's cool. Oh yes, multiplayer. Yes, exactly, multiplayer on Nightfire. Well, you know what? Multiplayer aspect. I always never the big multiplayer type of guy. That's also why you don't see me in GoldenEye Source very often. It's not that I have something against this game or I don't enjoy it, but it's just multiplayer is not the thing I prefer. I prefer single player and missions, going through missions. I love co-op. I love co-op very much. Um, Something that you could do in Call of Duty as well. But then again, usually I prefer the single player stuff. And unlock villains in GoldenEye 25. No, 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 no. No unlockable villains in GoldenEye 25. Yeah. But like I said, 007 Legends. Have any of you played that? How is it? How was that game? Was it any good? Because I said I just avoided it, just merely based on some footage that I saw. Okay, Dalek and Clave never did. Okay, yeah, I heard it was pretty bad. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I heard that too. Again, just because of that, it being like Call of Duty, just with Bond slapped on it, which it's just a cheap way out, really. I think. 007 GoldenEye Dossier writes 007 Legends is quite crappy. It had potential, but very much close to Call of Duty. Yeah, there we go. And GoldenEye, oh my goodness. Okay, okay, there we go. Okay, got my review there. Yeah, and other Bond games. The thing is, and I'm almost inclined to say that I even enjoy The World's Not Enough a little more than GoldenEye. Of course, I have to go for GoldenEye for anecdotal reasons, and because it was such a smash hit. I mean, The World's Not Enough was never nearly as successful, but I think considering the fact of the technological limitations that they had, they did a good job at capturing the atmosphere and the mood of the movie. The World Is Not Enough. I love that movie very much too. So I really enjoyed that game. Funny enough, the N64 version, and still as of today, I don't realize why, didn't have the Bond theme in any of the tunes. So it must be something that. But it was funny. But the game also was available on PlayStation, and there the soundtrack was completely different. And it had the Bond theme all over. So I don't yeah, I don't know what that was about, but I really loved it, and I really love to see a remake of that game. I would really love that. That would be one of my dreams come true. I don't like the idea of modernizing the iconic Bond movies either. No, no, why would you? I actually enjoy playing through online and single player. It really depends on the multiplayer. Yeah, yes. Well, we're all different, and yeah. But I just generally, well, there were times when I used to play. There was a short time period where I played Counter Strike Source. I think it was back then. Really enjoyed that, and yeah, again, Call of Duty and co-op. Had a friend and we had headsets and we would sort of coordinate our moves and stuff like that. That I find enjoyable. Uh, yeah, and that's something I want to address. It was not really a question, but I got the questions and I read it all over the place at one point. Mm. The question was if Ben and I, once GoldenEye 25 is done, would do another Bond game, and we've talked about this too. Um, First of all, the most important thing as of this point, of course, is GoldenEye 25. I mean, there's no need of talking about what is after that, because we have to focus on getting GoldenEye 25 done first. But after that, I mean, as intriguing and as amazing that would be to do like a remake of The World Is Not Enough, and I would actually love to do a sort of a David Arnold inspired score, and embed that in a dynamic music system within a remake of The World Is Not Enough. That would be so epic. But you know, we had a conversation about that, and I think in all likelihood we won't do a game that relies on someone else's IP, intellectual property, after GoldenEye 25, because you know, you have to understand this GoldenEye 25 thing. We love it so much, and it's so enjoyable, and it's so great to do, and it's really a dream come true. And I know Ben shares these feelings, because we talk about that stuff from time to time. But then again, you know, we spend a good portion of our time in our life for the time period of 4 years. And still, I mean, you know, it is my hobby. And Ben combines it a little bit, you know, it is his hobby, but he also combines it with his work, doing models and stuff like that. Still, you know, at one point, this takes up so much time. At one point, we just got to do something that also is going to yield some money that we can, that we should, in theory, we should be able to make a living off of that, which is not the point with GoldenEye. Of course, that was never the point of doing it, because you know that you're relying on someone else's intellectual property. But that's why we said, you know, unless, but of course, I mean, how likely is that to happen? If someone should see a GoldenEye 25 and say, wow, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life, and I want this to happen, and I know some people get the rights, and we commissioned those two guys to do that, then it would be something else. But again, how likely is that? Is there a way to contact you in terms of creating a server for fans to ask you questions like Discord and etc.? Well, you can get in touch. Of course, the social media stuff: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can use the form on my homepage. But like a server, no, I have not set up Discord. Like a forum, yeah, I have to think about that. I'll keep it in the back of my head. Got to Dash, Rob D. This was great. You and Ben, keep up the quality work. Thank you very much, Ben. Have a good time. Hope to see you soon again. There's 17-page chapter dedicated to the video game. Official and unofficial, both Ben and Yannick are quoted. That's referring to, yes, to Nico's book, the new book that has been released. Cool. Thank you very much for including us. It's very kind of you. One last question before I got to go to bed. Since you are using the Unreal Engine GoldenEye 25 Epic Store exclusive. Yeah. Thanks for answering my questions, Yannick. Looking forward to a future Discord. Thank you very much for your questions. Thank you for joining in. Yes, almost 2 hours. Wow, that went longer than I thought. I thought about maybe doing 1 hour or something like that. Well, I didn't want to put a, you know, sort of a time limit to it, since you know, you never know how these things go, and I don't want to leave, you know, in the middle of a conversation or something like that. So for all of you leaving now, bye-bye. And I think it's 1 hour and 48 minutes now. I think we'll slowly start to go to the end, unless there's some questions left or something you want to talk about. Like I said, it should not only be about me answering questions. It should be a bit of a conversation, you know. Yeah. How's it with you guys? How are you? Are you hyped for Bond 25? Yeah, if you have more questions, just ask them, no problem. But are you guys hyped for Bond 25, or are you sort of indifferent, or are you looking forward to it, or how are you rating all this is going on? And you also this overanalyzing of every little bit and aspect that's happening. Is there a way? It's just this question that just came in. Is there a way to speak with you about music, like arrangements and etc.? Do you use Facebook? Because I use the Facebook Messenger quite frequently. I like that one. Or WhatsApp would be an alternative too. But if you have Facebook, we can do it on there. But but music theory is not really my strong suit. I have to warn you in advance. I'm composing music more by listening and by gut feeling as opposed to really knowing what I'm doing. But worked out all right in the past. Ben, haven't seen the Bond film since Quantum of Solace. Not really interested. Did you just not get to see them, or did you avoid them because you just were fed up with what is going on? Quite GoldenEye dossier writes, quite hyped for Bond 25, seeing that plot seems less personal than the last two Bond films and very interesting. Okay. Ben writes, I don't like the style anymore, too serious. Yeah, it's exactly I feel like that's why after Die Another Day, they completely lost me. I'm forced to watch myself everything from like I said before, from Casino Royale to Spectre, but just so I could talk about it and know what I'm talking about. But really, every time I saw a movie after the Die Another Day, I was just I was not even just unhappy. I was really mad is too much. I was really indifferent. I was just like, okay, that's just my favorite brand just down the toilet. But then again, I have hope. Maybe they'll do reboots after Bomb 25, and maybe because I always think of like that. You had people that really loved John Connery back then, and then came the Roger Moore era, and they didn't like that, and then eventually Timothy Dalton came. Maybe then they found a connection to Bond again and got into the whole thing again and liked the style better again, and maybe with Bond, the same will happen. They will get back to the more humorous stuff, not comedy, but just a little more wit, a little more class, a little more a guy that just looks more like Bond. It's like you say, it's too serious. It's just and also that whole concept of all the films having to tie together, and you tell a story and his father and his mother and when he was a boy and this and that. I just want to have a movie again where it's just there's just some sort of crazy maniac villain even with a henchman who's completely out of this world, and he wants to destroy the world or steal vast amounts of money, and Bond has to screw up his plans and so on. That's what I wish to come back again. Dalek Enclave, thanks Yannick. Actually, I've been having trouble looking for 60s and 70s keyboard sounds for a theme. Yeah, like I said, if there's anything I can help you with, we can get in touch over Facebook or WhatsApp or on Twitter, private messages. GoldenEye dossier. The Daniel Craig films are perfect adaptation for the 21st century from the Ian Fleming books in a way, but it depends very much on the taste. Pierce Brosnan is missed, though. Yes, Pierce Brosnan is clearly missed. What I always hate about Pierce Brosnan is that the way he had to go. They sort of phone him up, said that's it, goodbye, even though he even had a contract for a fifth one, and they just booted him out like that to such an extent that you can really see nowadays if he's in interviews and so on. He's a polite and kind gentleman. He will answer the questions, but you can clearly see he doesn't want to talk about Bond because I suppose there must have been so intense feelings for when he was booted from that, that stings every time that comes up again. And of course you can't avoid it because having been Bond, of course, well, that's going to be something that's going to be on you the rest of your life. Dalek Enclave, I don't hate Daniel Craig. I think the movies are a bit too dark and serious. Yeah, there we go. That's it. That's one of my problems that I have as well. And yeah, I just don't. Daniel Craig just looks more like someone who would start a fight in a bar as opposed to a classy English gentleman agent. You know. That's what I have my difficulty with. And also, if I see Brosnan and I hear the Bond theme, it just works. It's just like marriage. If I see Craig and I hear the Bond theme, which of course these days doesn't come up too often anymore, it just doesn't work. It's just like, you know, those two things don't go together. A Bond theme works perfectly when you see Sean Connery, when you see Roger Moore, when you see Timothy Dalton, when you see Pierce Brosnan. But that's it. Of course, I'm only speaking for myself. That's the way I see it. Mostly use Twitter and email to speak with someone. If I have anything in mind, I tend to share assets. Yeah, of course, we can do a private chat on Twitter. No problem. Fossan agreed. Die Another Day was the last one I've seen. I've seen Casino, Quantum, and the third with Craig, but only the first one was okay. But no more than that. Yeah. Yeah. Casino Royale was okay, and that's putting it mildly, I think. The GoldenEye dossier writes, it would be nice to have a more formulaic Bond film, Craig or Beyond, starting with the gun barrel, yes. Having a happy ending with Bond and the girl, which Spectre in a way had. Really? The last thing I can remember from Spectre is that drama with the helicopter and Blofeld, and that's the last image that I have in my mind. Don't remember any romantic sort of. Well, despite the personal connection between Bond and Blofeld. Oh, okay, there we go. Quite sure that after Craig, they'll return to the Brosnan style when analyzing the way of the series. Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. Well, like I said, I certainly hope so. That's going to be that way. And I think that there are quite a few good actors out there now who certainly look more like James Bond to me than Daniel Craig does, really. So yeah, let's keep the hopes up. I'm just wondering now, maybe some of you know it, have there ever been talks that the reins of the Bond production would be given to the next generation? You know, as in how long will Barbara and Michael G. Wilson still do it? Their role as producers. Because that's interesting, because whoever would have the new job of producing the Bond movies, how he would see that. For example, if that man or that woman would be a great fan of the Brosnan era, maybe it was even more likely that it would get more towards that again. After more Dalton came, after Dalton Brosnan came, after Brosnan Gray came, a different type of Bond always replaced the previous one. So there's a chance. Yeah, exactly. I think so too. I think once that Craig era is wrapped up, then it's really going to go back to something else different. Yeah, with another actor and everything. Yeah, I would really be wondering with those Bond producers how that's going to go down. Yeah, like politics when people they want to change. Exactly. Yes, that's right. Well, I just hope after and they vote different candidates. Yes, exactly. Anyway, I actually don't want Bond to be focused on politics too much now. And that's something I talked about this recently with someone. I don't remember who it was. It was multiple people. I just said, you know, I can't understand this climate. Oh, no, Nico, it was one of your posts. I think I've answered. Or did I post that? Oh my goodness, I'm really starting to lose my mind. I can't understand what is going on these days. There's so much hate online in the real world today, and people are being so mean to each other. And on the same time, there's that over exaggerated political correctness, where you always have to have, you know, you have to have a gay guy in a movie, you have to have a percentage of black people, you have to have, even if the movie doesn't call for it, you have to have some sort of a female actor or lead, even if it doesn't make sense at all, but just so you can adhere to that political correctness. It just doesn't fit together. And I think it's I think the way I observe it in an everyday life, it's really driving people insane, because I think it was who was that poet who said that people give people, I think it was a French poet who said people, well, I'm paraphrasing this, that people can't deal with freedom. People have to have a certain. I think it was when the Bastille was with the rush, the storm of the Bastille, when they said people can't deal with freedom. They have to have a certain boundaries, certain limits, certain um, parameters, certain parameters set. And if they're given too much freedom, they start going crazy. And that's what I think what is going on in many cases. People get too much freedom. It doesn't mean that you have to chain a woman to a kitchen, or that you have, that it doesn't have to be like that. Everybody should be equal, of course. But as long as we're talking about equality, of course, we have not successfully reached equality. And it works in both ways. When you as a company have to boast about you having a female CEO, then we're still not equal. Because in an equal world, it doesn't matter. Then you just have the best on the top, no matter if it's a woman or a man, right? That's the way I see it. And that's why I think many things are still going wrong these days. Hmm. GoldenEye dossier, you have thousands of people calling themselves Bond fans, then trashing Bond for being racist or misogynist when he never patronized someone for his race. Yeah, again, there's something I can understand. Bond is so misogynistic, and Bond is so last century. And I mean, come on, stop it, really. We had Natalia, for example, and that was in the 90s. We had M, very strong women, Xenia, who dominated men. It was already done back then, but it fitted the story, it fitted the movie. It felt natural. It was not, thrusted down your throat. Just, because you can tell in the movie if they put a female lead or something in there just in order to get the political correctness in line, as opposed to the role just calling for a woman, right? Uh, as for women, yes, maybe in the 60s he was a bit rude, but certainly not since the 90s. Well, I think women have come a long way. Of course, maybe here and there there's still some adjustments that can be made, but I have a lot of female friends at work, and we frequently talk about this. And I think, what I think the good thing is it reached its peak, and mankind is always like that. Nothing can be done with a certain how do you say, with a certain, nothing can be done, just in a normal way. It always has to be the extreme. Politically, you go from the extreme right to the extreme left. It can never be the in between thing. And then again, women have been oppressed a long time ago, and now they're going to complete different extreme, and it will go back. Not the women getting oppressed again, but it will balance itself out. I think that's the good thing. Even Ian Fleming's heroines were quite strong and self-reliant. Honicha Ryder in Doctor No. Yeah, exactly. I don't know what. Again, I don't get this conversation. What is it about? There were always independent and strong women in Bond films. Fiona Volpe, for instance, comes to mind. Lois Childs in Moonraker. I mean, and like I said, we're talking about 50, 40 years ago. Even though I'm POC, I still love the Bond movies regardless. Okay, I don't want censorship on any way of the movies, to be honest. Yeah, yeah, neither do I. No, that's just I just feel as soon as and you also could feel with the last Star Wars movies and stuff, where you just could. I mean, they have. I think they have the most blatant political correctness agenda, and there you can really feel that it's just forced in. The movie would call for completely different things, but it's so forced into that. Uh, it just you can really feel it makes you really feel uncomfortable watching those movies. Other than that, racism and respect towards women should go beyond fiction and certainly beyond how Bond acts in a fictional story. Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. I don't listen to people like that. They're just looking for attention, in my opinion, and just want to shame on others for looking something. Yes, exactly. And that's the problem, of course, with media and social media and everything. That you always had those kind of crazy, extreme people, but they didn't have the platform like 20, 30, or even many more years ago. They didn't have a platform. Nobody heard them, and so they stayed a little group of extremists, and they wouldn't go beyond that. But nowadays they have the means to go public, nationally, internationally, even. When you hear stories about, like when you hear from Great Britain, like schools forbid to clap on the school ground because the noise of clapping can be disturbing to some people and stuff like that. Like I said, 20, 30 years ago, that would have been a little news report, if even in a small local newspaper. But today it makes international headlines because also the media, they just want to have headlines and stuff like that. And yeah, forced in, yes, fitting to Star Wars. But again, media love to pick up those crazy stories because it generates, clicks, of course. And they subsequently give those extremists and those weird people more exposure than they deserve, and that is good for them, I think. Uh, what's your favorite villain? Do you have a top three list? Yeah, good one. Getting back to Bond. Favorite Bond villain? Well, I'd have to say Alec Trevelyan, I think, because GoldenEye is my all-time favorite movie, and I love everything about that movie. But he as a character, he's great, but he's probably not the best villain, as it were. I think that whole Renard and Electra King scheme is quite nasty. I think those two coupled together, they would be probably my favorite. And then Blofeld, of course, he's great. Blofeld he would come in third, and second would be Robert Davi. Christopher Lee. I have to cram Christopher Lee in there as well. I love Christopher Lee. Again, just a nasty version of Bond, which is perfect. Hey, how are you doing? Hello, Bond8789. Hi. I've been following your channel for a while now. I can't tell you how many times I have listened to Short of Time. Really like the track. Oh, thank you very much. Quite an old one, but cool if you still enjoy it. Thank you very much for joining in, and nice to have you on board. Um, um, which are your favorite Bond villains, by the way? Just write a comment on that. Would be interesting to hear. GoldenEye does say even Pierce Brosnan is quoted on The Incredible World of 007 book by Lee Pfeiffer and Philip Lisa saying PC is a form of censorship. Yes, that's true. I mean, again, just even comedians these days, they have to be extremely mindful. Some of them at least do. I mean, there's still a few comedians that simply don't give a shit, but there are many comedians who really have to be mindful of what they say, just because they want to avoid big headlines and stuff like that, and they want to be they don't want to be in a political controversy. Oh my God, now my English is starting to fail. Controversy. Yeah, they don't want to be in a political controversy. They just want to make their comedy, which I can understand. Pointing out that Bond and Xenia had an animal attraction and there was the language and way to battle each other and not meant to degrade a woman as a sexual object. No. If something, then the man Brosnan would have been the sexual object, I think, in that sense, right? Much as I like Star Wars movies, I think the politics bug me, to be honest, too. Yes, yeah, that's why I said I sort of, again, that's the thing. There are many people who criticize those Star Wars movies, the prequel trilogy. But at least they still had the George Lucas touch, and I really like those movies. Phantom Menace, I really love that movie. Again, that's when I grew up when I was a child and had the Lego and everything. But that still, again, that was those movies. There were George Lucas has had that formula. He knew that it was entertainment, it was make believe, it was fantasy, it was something to take people out of their everyday lives. And as soon as Disney took it over, then it was just all political correctness agenda all the way. And then they moved those movies, they just completely lose it. I wish we had a game based on Moonraker. Yes, yes, there would be like I said again. If you ask me, every Bond movie should get its own game. Really, I think that would be so amazing. Still hope it happens one day, but the way I see big AAA companies handling games nowadays, not too sure if they would do a good job with making decent Bond games. Because if you think about it, there have been quite a number of Bond games released, and not many of them were really, really good, and especially not most recent ones. Tylord Stevenson, I think it's the first time I read your name now. Hi, in that case. I've been listening to John Barry's Eternal Echoes. I've been listening to it in the car. It's beautiful. Yes, John Barry. I've been listening to John Barry. I just have to look up which one it was. Just rediscovered that soundtrack. John Barry, which one was it? You Only Live Twice soundtrack. That's very good too. And the Octopussy soundtrack, fantastic. And of course, also Out of Africa and that stuff. Yeah, John Barry was such a shame that he's already dead. Yes, a Bloodstone style game based on Moonraker movie. Well, I haven't played Bloodstone. I can't possibly comment on that. But again, I think that was one that was more liked by the critics, right? Nicolas Susik, hello Yannick, hi Nico. Yep, the PC thing cost me to quit a number of fights in the Bond fandom, mainly because I reprise Ian Fleming many times. Yeah, well, that's something I've given up to. I don't engage in conversations online anymore. It's just too nerve-wracking, and it never leads to a point. Bond 8789, favorite Bond villain for me, it's Scaramanga. Yeah, Christopher Lee. Yeah, he's fantastic. He's really, really good. Like a twisted mirror image of Bond. Exactly. That's the way I see it. Yeah, and he's the class and style, but still he's mean, and you really believe he can kill someone. And yeah, that's very good too. Good choice. It's gotten very bad the last 5 to 10 years. PC and games and movies. Yeah. I remember that outcry that was when which game was that released? I think one of the most recent or the more recent Call of Duties, where they had a female protagonist, where even women went and say, well, we all know that women didn't fight in the game in battle back then. There were nurses or cooks, but they weren't at the front fighting, and they did just have a female soldier. I mean, back in those days, really? But this was a huge outcry. Maybe he had some. Maybe he had some questionable things to say, but he lived in the 50s, and I appreciate him for being true to himself. Fleming, that is, which many people sadly aren't in these times. No, that's right. He openly liked and disliked things, not to polemize, just to be true to himself. Yes, and I think that's something we should keep, or more like reintroduce. We should all have, we should all stand up for what we like and what we don't like and say it publicly. I that's a trait that I really love in people when they have that, because yeah, like you say, it's really gotten seldom, and everybody, well, many people, not everybody, but many people want to be liked, and they don't want to be, they don't want to exclude anyone, or they don't want to offend anyone. Well, if you don't want to offend anyone, then you best keep your mouth shut. That's just the way it is. I mean, look, if this was a politically correct chat, I mean, I don't know how many times I've said crazy in those 2 hours today. Um, if this was a political correct chat, at least one or two people would have written, "Oh well, crazy. You can't use that word because it's degrading to people who have mental illness." And that's, I gotta say, come on. If I can't use a simple word like crazy, then I'm out of here. Yeah, a GoldenEye detonation would sort out political correctness. Yeah. Well, as I told Ben last night, I still think Oromov is not really dead. So there's hope. Scaramanga, Sanchez, and Charles Gray are up there for me. Yes, 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 yes. Sanchez, oh, fantastic. And Charles Gray. Also, always I follow Robert Davi on Twitter, and he seems a very really cool guy. He posts a lot of pictures with fans, so he must be real cool. Has any of you met him by chance? And Charles Gray, he's just a wonderful mixture of funny and still menacing. He's just great. Nicolas Susik, favorite villain, I would say Trevelyan, but my favorite is definitely Franz Sanchez. Yeah, very good. He's a really a guy to be afraid to mess with. Yes, 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 exactly, because he's not such a fictional enemy. It's not some. He's not. He doesn't have like completely out of this world plan. I mean, it's the whole drug business, and that's pretty realistic, and so it makes him so believable and threatening. Exactly. Oh yeah, freaking Battlefield 5. What a stupid game. Yeah, right. It was that one with the woman lead and stuff like. Oh my goodness. Yeah, yeah. I sort of I played Battlefield 1942, and I've lost the link after that. Would we get a Yannick Easter egg in GoldenEye 25 where you appear on an enemy or ally's body? Yes, I think we do. I think the head has even been modeled, as far as I know. Yeah, yeah, of course. I would love to shoot myself in a game. Absolutely. And I know, as a matter of fact, I know a few people who would love to shoot me in a game. Bond 8789. Yeah, and scenes where Scaramanga tells Bond about his part, best scene in the film. I didn't think much of Scaramanga in the book. Lee improved on what Fleming wrote. Yes, I honestly I never read a Fleming book, so I never. Also, people say, "Oh, this Bond actor is closer to Fleming." So, I don't know. I can just judge by what I see. Nico writes, I don't think Fleming sat in front of his typewriter and say, "Okay, let's see how I'll offend black men and women today." He just wrote standing on his world. Yeah. I mean, Alec did kill innocents through Oromov and Xenia in Severnaya, but Sanchez did kill everyone. That's coming back to the favorite villain. I mean, ripping the heart out of someone, he does scare you. Yes, absolutely. Political correctness has gone mad. When classical books are censored so as not to offend modern readers, it's time to put the brakes on. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. No, that's just a degree of insane that I cannot fathom. Alec was more into revenge on Bond than England, plus money making. Yes. I never did, sadly. Oh, what is that referring to? Dalek, or could you just help me out? What were you referring to? I'm just going back through the chat to see what you're referring to. I'm missing something. we should get a bonus track if we hit you. Huh. How could that sound if you shoot me in the game? Yeah, bonus track. Huh. What could that be? Oh, I hope you were all there when I showed this. Um, I know which bonus track we could play. When you shoot me, you hear the Godfather theme. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Yeah, that would be my bonus track. If you kill me in the game, you hear the Godfather theme. Oh my goodness! Tyler Stevenson writes, I read Live and Let Die, and it's nothing close to racist. If anything, Fleming is bigoted to senior citizens in Florida. Yeah, yeah, that's right. Well, again, you can interpret everything in anything. If you want something to be racist, you can find something for it to be racist. But that's what I hate about this PC stuff when it goes to an extreme extent is that we're not dealing with. I mean, we have enough problems. We have wars. We have people starving. We have all sorts of problems, and we are really, some people are generating problems by trying to but just by trying to fabricate problems that are not even there. And that is really what makes me mad about political correctness, and to say, guys, we really have different things to worry about than if what in some book in chapter 13 on the 254th page is written could be a racist word. We have different problems than that to solve, and that's what makes me so. That's what upsets me so much about it. Going back to what you said on harsh comments, we are both from the times whenever we didn't like something, we just dropped it, unlike nowadays kids, writes Nico. Yes, exactly. That's something I can understand as well. If you see in YouTube or social media posts, whenever I see something that I don't like, or something that I really dislike, I would never, you know, willingly make this person feel bad. I would just move on and say, okay, there's a shit in my opinion, but drop it. But it just, I mean, this is everyday practice now. But just to sit down and take your time to really be mean and offend someone. And to be honest, I thought about this last time, and this is quite harsh what I'm about to say now, but I just really have to put this in clear words. To me, online bullies are close to rapists and people who are cruel to animals, because they willingly make other people feel bad. And when you know these stories nowadays, that online bullying can lead to suicide. So if you're bullying someone online and being really mean and dirty to someone, you can say it in an extreme way. You even sort of take the risk that this person cannot deal with it and probably end his life. I mean, that's the risk you're willing to take when you bully someone online. And that's, I think you got to be a special kind of scum to do that. Again, we're not talking about criticizing something, or even leaving a comment and say, hey, do that or that better, or I don't like this and that. We're really talking about the mean stuff that really attacks people on a personal level. Also, if a YouTuber, for example, is exceptionally fat, the stuff that you read, that amount of scum and villainy is really disgusting, and I really hate that. Bond 8789. When it comes to the language used in books, people need to just accept that it was the language used in the 50s and 60s, deal with it, not read something else. Yes, exactly. It's the same thing when you see Connery slapping a girl on the butt. Okay, you probably wouldn't do that nowadays or put it in a movie nowadays. Um, but the movie was back then. What do you have to do? Go back and recut that movie, resell the movie just to cut that little scene out? No, that was what was done back then. So what? Deal with it. It's just right. Tyler Stevenson, people over here are really well off and need to find things to feel oppressed about. Yeah, you're right. Fleming describes the Harlem in Florida from the 1950s as back then everyone was racist. I'm neutral on the left and right. It really depends on what kind of people they are. Well, I don't even think this is about political directions. It's just about, generally. Um, yeah. Women strike soon in Bond films. Yes. Oh, of course. That's just the thing we were waiting for. I'm terribly mad at people trashing Bond for being racist and misogynist when parents let kids play GTA. I mean, yeah, exactly. Those are the sort of, contradictions that just, Aristotle's had slaves because back then having slaves was normal. Yeah. Women loved it back then, still do. To give him a nice slap on the butt. Yeah, well. Yeah. I mean, there are just some things. So just some things that are true. Oh my God! I mean, if anyone would watch this live stream now again, you would, yeah. But then again, exactly. There was one point I was trying to make beforehand. I have a few female friends at work, and sometimes we talk about this political correctness stuff, and thankfully in Switzerland, we are not yet that deep into that whole extreme thing of political correctness. And women say, you know what? People, women are just taking this too far. It's just going too much to the extreme, and that's not what we want. And many of them are young women. So yeah. Light one again. Something I wanted to ask you guys. Before I started the stream, I watched the latest episode of that new series, Chernobyl, made by HBO and Sky. That's such a fantastic series. Has any one of you watched it yet? There will be one more episode and then it's done. Time OSB, really good. Yeah, I think so too. It's fantastic. Everything is so eerie and dark and bland and intense, and there's no bullshitting around. It's right to the core. It's about the story and wow, fantastic. So for those of you who have not seen it yet or have not gotten into it, Chernobyl, really go check that out. It's always one episode, lasts about 1 hour. Fantastic production. One of the best series I've ever seen. Really, really intense, moody, and you learn some things about Chernobyl. Someone who claimed to be a Bond fan got into the MI6 forums to say Bond is a schizophrenic, racist, homophobic Don Quixote, ridiculous-like figure. He was upset because I told him he was on the wrong place to write that. Yeah. Well, I think the thing that I do, I just don't react to that because people are just doing that to getting a reaction out of other people, and I don't want to I don't want to treat them with that. I want them just to be left in the open field, and if they got a bit of brain left, they will feel like dumbasses. Very unsettling. Episode 3 was horrific. Yes. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, that was episode 3 of Chernobyl. We're talking again. Oh yeah, that was That was really, really nasty. Those wounds and the firemen when he really started to decay, and the way his skin. Wow, that was horrific. Nico, my grandparents came from Ukraine, so I have to watch Chernobyl. Yeah, absolutely do. You have to get that. It's really fantastic filmmaking. It's it's fantastic. All the actors, the score again. I love the score. It's subtle, but it's very unsettling at the same time. Absolutely recommend all of you to watch that. It's fantastic. Great production. Have we all heard about 007 stage? They called it a controlled explosion. Isn't it? It's the third time something has happened there. No. Yes, but it was worse. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, these things happen in those movies, when they do so many practical things, and explosions and that. There's always something that can go wrong. I think, those are the things I think shouldn't be overanalyzed. Really, well, accidents do happen. Ooh, that was a Tomorrow Never Dies quote. Ooh, bing, bing, 1 point for me. Yeah. So when did the other explosions happen? In 1984 and 2006. Yeah, well, 1984, probably nobody knew that it happened except the people who were there. In 2006, well, social media wasn't still not that big in 2006. I wasn't around in 1984, but I remember 2006. Luckily, the only injury was minor. Tyler Stevenson, Yannick, do you listen to James Bond radio? I know it. I have listened to some episodes, but I don't get to listen frequently. They do a good job. Some episodes I really enjoyed. Sometimes they're almost too long for me, but that comes in handy when they really have a special guest or something like that. That they give them enough time to really talk about. Love Tomorrow Never Dies. My first big screen Bond. It has a special place in my heart. Yeah, Tomorrow Never Dies is a fantastic movie. Yeah, the score, the whole film, the villain, Götz, who I mentioned in the beginning of the stream, is a fantastic person, and not a huge fan of Lucy Liu, but Brosnan, Brosnan always great. Not only Bond, generally, he's my favorite actor, all-time favorite actor. Not just James Bond, but generally. Also love his other movies. Dante's Peak, I love very much. Butterfly Effect was a fantastic movie, and The Foreigner with Jackie Chan was a great film. The Thomas Crown Affair and everything. Yeah, Pierce Brosnan is really a real gem. Dalek and Clave, anyway, got to be leaving soon. It was nice interacting with you, Yannick, and I tweet you something I have discussed. Yeah, we'll get in touch. Just saw the tweet. We'll get in touch. Thank you very much for joining, and have a good one. We'll see you again soon. Farewell to you too. Same here, but for what I've read, I know the other two was like a huge fire that blasted everything. This time it was an explosion. Okay. Tyler Stevenson, there's a lot I like about Die Another Day. Yeah, me too. Especially the first half. I sort of lose it when it gets to the whole ice palace thing later on and the whole car chase on the ice. That's a little bit too much for me to bear. And the big ray and then the helicopters and everything. It's not the things that people always criticize. The invisible car and all that stuff. Well, it's those are individual scenes. I mean, so what? I can look over that. And also the bad CGI in one scene. So what? By that standard, you could criticize every movie from the 80s and 90s as well. By today's standards, of course. I don't really mind that. Oh, hello. Yes, big Bond fan again. Michelle Yeoh, not Lucy Liu. Oh my. Well, sometimes with names I'm so bad. Yeah, of course. Yeah, Michelle Yeoh. Yeah, exactly. Not Lucy Liu. When I did the interview with Götz Otto, we also talked about Bond. Tomorrow Never Dies, obviously. And I only noticed after the interview, and it was so embarrassing because I'm a Bond fan. You know, I'm supposed to get these things right. I referred to, oh God, see, that's exactly the name. I can't remember the names. Terry Hatcher. I came up with the wrong name all the time, and he didn't even notice. But I was talking about Terry Hatcher, but I called her Michelle Gellar, I think. I always talked about Michelle Gellar, but of course it was Terry Hatcher. It was completely, you know. Well, I was also very nervous because, well, Götz Otto is a great actor. Die Another Day, by the way, is also, yeah, it's just like a lot of parts of the movie I love. It's also, um, you know, people say that many people say their least favorite war Bond movies is The Man with the Golden Gun and Moonraker. I love Moonraker very much, except as when they get into space, then I agree with many people. It's just too much. It doesn't work somehow. Just it's not that I have something against that space concept in a Bond movie, but the way it was done was a bit awkward, especially by today's standards. But the first half of the movie is a really, really solid Bond movie. Many great scenes in Venice, the free fall, you know, all that stuff, along with a fantastic score by John Barry. That movie really has, Moonraker has a lot of great things to love about. Brosnan is in the business. It hasn't really aged that much either, considering it's been 22 years. I'm not a big Brosnan fan, but he put bums on seats when it was needed most. Yeah. Nico writes, TND was also my first on the big screen after G on TV weeks earlier. Oh, okay, there you go. My first one was The World Is Not Enough, fun enough. Because I became a Bond fan a bit later only. So I missed Tomorrow Never Dies in the cinema. The Die Another Day tidal wave scene is Oscar worthy. Well, let's keep it real, okay? Snap. Although my first Bond film was Yolt on VHS in 1996. Oh, okay. Paris Carver, yeah, exactly. That's Terry Hatcher and not Michelle Gellar. I think the first Bond film that I see was also a rerun on television. That's the first one I remember having seen. I was not a fan back then, but the first one that I saw on television was Octopussy. But that film, I'm not a huge fan of these days. I don't know why. It has many great ingredients, but it's not in my top 5. I think not even in my top 10. I adore The Man with the Golden Gun and Moonraker, perhaps even more than the last 3 more films. Yes, I feel so too. Especially if you took Kill, that was really the final gong when you felt that he had to go because it was just getting sort of a bit ridiculous. And the whole movie, yeah, it was good. I mean, Bond movies are all good. They're all good movies compared to others, but there's some are weaker and some are better. But yeah, Octopussy, yeah, View to Kill, yeah, yeah. I prefer Moonraker and The Man with the Golden Gun as well. Man with the Golden Gun, again, also fantastic movie. Just love it. Where was I? Did you see Survivor from 2015? I personally got some James Bond vibes from his Ron movie. No, unfortunately, I've not seen it until now. Is it good? Is it good? I saw some. I would have seen it, but I saw some trailers and some scenes from the movie, and even though I love everything that Brosnan basically is in, it had too much of a Jason Bourne vibe to me, and I was never sure if I should really watch it. Is it worth watching? Moonraker is my favorite. I even like the outer space part. It seems very bongishy, bondish, even though it's in space. Yeah, well, like I agree. There were scenes in the Bond history. Yes, I can deal with it. But like I said, especially Moonraker, the first half of the movie, maybe even the first three quarters are fantastic. Gaming or what? Hey, what up? Hi, how are you? First one I saw at the cinema was Living Daylights. Oh, that's a good one to start with. And how did it make you feel? How did you like it? First Bond movie was GoldenEye. Oh, nice. In the cinema or on television, on DVD? Nico, perhaps it has to do with Roger's age. I mean, he looked very well at 57, but still, his age is noticeable in comparison to Live and Let Die, Man with the Golden Gun, Spy Love Me, and Moonraker. Yeah, yes, he was really starting to. Yeah, he looked. Oh, he always well with at 57. He looked good for his age, but too old for Bond. He started to get this the old man eyes and stuff like that. Yeah, it was. A View to Kill is one of my favorites. Yeah, solid one. No, wait a second. View, bit of View. Oh man, I always confuse these with the Dalton ones. A View to Kill. Yes, yes, yes. Well, it's okay. It's okay. Again, not one of my top five, but it's yeah. But it's if it's your favorite, by all means. I mean, to be fair to Die Another Day, for the most part, it's quite good. A few hiccups here and there, yes, such as the title track. Oh God, why did you have to bring that up? I didn't even think of it until now. But it's pretty good up until around Iceland or thereabouts. Yes, exactly. I feel the same way. After that, I think it starts to fall apart. Yeah. hmm Nico writes, I got Survivor. It's cool. Nothing out of this world, honesty. I dare say Livewire is the best Pierce did outside Bond in terms of entertainment. Oh, yeah, Livewire. I have not seen that either. I think someone recommended that once. Was it even you, Nico, who recommended me that once? Or was it Jack Walter Christian? I have to go back and watch it. Absolutely. November Man is good. Good as in just okay, good, or is it a solid movie? I loved Living Daylights. Living Daylights. Yes, November Man is better than Survivor to me. Saturday reviews didn't help it. Survivor? Did I miss something? Which was Survivor? Hmm. Oh, yes, of course. Completely forgot about that. Survivor, yes. Yeah, we played the assassin. Exactly. Survivor. Oh, yeah, now I remember. You know those movies, Survivor and November Man? You know, those are the movies that I consciously avoided because I couldn't have helped. I know myself well enough. I couldn't have helped myself, but to sort of feel sad that this is not Pierce playing Bond, and so I would always wait for the Bond theme to kick in, and of course it wouldn't happen, and so um, unless it would have really been suggested, I think I would have avoided those movies. And like I said, I was afraid it would have too much of the Jason Bourne vibe, which I really don't like it. Livewire, liquid bomb that looks like water being served by terrorists to kill U.S. senators. Yes, exactly. That's the one. That's the one I was suggested. I have to note that one down. That I have to watch. Worthy seeing. Okay, good to know. Pierce is an FBI bomb diffuser in Livewire. Okay, yes, exactly. Really thrilling and quite violent for the time. Okay. November Man is solid. Wow, okay. Why do you think we haven't gotten a new Bond game in a while? Well, I think that's there's different reasons for that. One being that the last couple of Bond games they really bombed. So I don't know if really a game studio, would benefit from that IP within the Bond gaming world, because, like I said, um, and especially games magazines and so on, I think they would be quite critical because we had a few bombs now, and of course the big reason being just because all the rights and IPs and copyright stuff is scattered all over the place. Many of the companies who did Bond games in the past, some of them don't exist anymore. Some have been transformed into new companies. Nobody really knows who has which rights to what and which asset and so on. So it's really difficult to sort of figure out. And for a company to get into this mess, they really have to be devoted Bond fans in order to do that to themselves. That's a minefield that just many game developers would avoid. And Bond doesn't have the appeal in the gaming world like it has in the movies, so it's not really appealing to pick that IP up. So it's not worth going through the trouble, really. And it may also be a financial issue. I mean, if you have to get licenses back and find who has the licenses and buying this stuff back, this could be quite a costly endeavor until you even can get started. And if it then bombs, then you have invested a lot to get the license and the IP. Then you make a game that doesn't sell well. I mean, that's nowadays that's the end of a game developing company. I think that's why it hasn't been picked up in a long time. I like Mila Jovovich. Oh, I loved her in The Fifth Element and in some of the Resident Evil movies. Yeah, yeah, she's good. She's good. She's not overacting and so on. She does her thing. She does it well. What about Detonator? Or is that a Brosnan movie as well, or what? Detonate. Death Train. My goodness, there's so many films I haven't seen with Pierce Brosnan. I really have to catch up. My goodness. Detonator. TV movie, 1993. Oh, Death Train. Yeah. Oh, that one looks good. Oh, I have a lot of catching up to do when it comes to Pierce Brosnan. Is it good, Detonator or Death Train? Is it a good movie? I think Eon also keep a tight leash on game developers. Any Bond game has to have whatever actors currently Bond in the game. Yes, exactly. That's also probably why they have replaced Pierce Brosnan with Daniel Craig in the GoldenEye reboot. Exactly. Yes. I remember I told you before that I know the composer of the music of Nightfire, Ed Lima, who did the music for Nightfire, and he said I once asked him, how was it working for that for who was it? EA, was it EA Games who did that? Who did? And I just asked him, from a production point of view, how did did they tell you got to use the Bond theme so many times or be restrictive with it? And he just said no. They just let him go. He could do whatever he wanted. You just had to make sure to put in the Bond theme quite many times, but there was no restriction as in don't use it too much. So that's always interesting. Does Activision still have Bonds? No, I don't think so. Oh, Nico, bye bye. Gotta run, make some errands. Try to be back soon. Great chat. Yeah, thank you very much. Bye bye. Thank you very much. No, Activision let the license run out. Okay. I think some gambling company might have it. Fairly recently, some licensed gambling machines were made. Oh, okay. Well, there was that business with when they did that again. Again, it was a game for mobile phones, or what was it? It completely bombed. It was a browser game or something. I don't remember. But that was the last Bond game that came out. Completely bombed. I like EA Bond games. You can use Bond theme more than Newman can. Yes. Well, it's not that big of achievement when I think about how much Newman uses the Bond theme. Everything or Nothing was an amazing game. We'd love to see an upgraded vision of it. Yes, again, I haven't played it myself, but it saw some footage, and yeah, it seemed like a quite decent Bond game. Yes. Yeah. Hmm. That's so funny, you know. I'm such a huge fan. I mean, I have four absolutely favorite composers. Those are my four heroes are Eric Serra, um, Huey Piano Smith, who's a New Orleans was a New Orleans boogie player. Really fantastic music, down to earth, you know, very simple but so effective. John Barry and Randy Newman. I love Randy Newman's soundtracks and his um, his songs so much. And then you have the other side of the spectrum, Thomas Newman, you know, which you know, he does a decent job. I mean, there's a reason why he is where he is. He has talent, you know, and he's very good. But yeah, especially the Bond soundtracks, that's not his forte. The mobile game was World of Espionage. Haven't played it, but I have heard nothing but extremely bad things about it. Exactly. And the company had such a weird name, Bubble Booble or something like. Wait a second. Let me just look that up. Come on. World of Espionage game, James Bond. Glue Mobile. Yes, exactly. I remember that name because I applied. I sent some of my. I basically sent an application there when they've announced this because I thought, well, maybe this could be a cool thing, and maybe I could join the project as a composer, but never heard from them. And frankly, now I'm happy. I never heard from them. Everything or Nothing. Everything or Nothing is my favorite. Great PS3D model. Yes, absolutely. And his voice and everything. John Cleese as well with his original voice, Q, R. Uh, yeah. I miss the days of Bond games on the PS2. Agent on the Fire, yes. Nightfire, Everything or Nothing. Yeah. Yeah, those were great games. Dark Jedi Reaper. Hi, GoldenZen. Hello. Keep up the beautiful work. Thank you very much. I'll try to. Love the GoldenEye virtue you snuck into Runway as a big piece. Yes, yeah, I had to have that. You know, you can't do the Runway without the third part of the GoldenEye virtue. But thank you very much for telling me. Another great composer is Marty O'Donnell on the Halo soundtrack. I've played Halo, but I can't really recall the soundtrack. Maybe you have to give it a listen again. Good thing that application wasn't accepted for World of Espionage. Yes, yes. Imagine that feeling. You sort of put your heart and soul into making the music for a game, and then it completely. I mean, it didn't just bomb. It was completely torn apart by literally everyone. People hated it so much. It was so. I never. I think I saw some footage at one point again. Oh, sorry, some sort of thing. They really ripped this apart completely, and if you, goodness, and you know, if you're connected to this as a composer, oh, I don't know. Surely it's nothing I would boast with at a party, you know. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, now it's like I said, for those of you who have joined in later, I this is my first live stream. I hope this is going well. I think we're I said at the beginning, I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know if there will be any interaction, if there will be something going on, or if this will be a complete bummer, or how long is it? How long I'm going to do it? First, I thought about an hour. Now we're closing into 3 hours. I really enjoyed this. Thank you very much for the interaction. It's found it really cool to get to talk to you and yeah, and to yeah, just ramble and have a chit chat. Not for Bond, but the PS1, PS2 Medal of Honor soundtrack by Michael Giacchino. If you never heard them, they're amazing. Yes, yes, I remember those. Yeah, they were really good, fantastic. They really did it. The songs really worked. The score really worked for the games. Yes, I remember that. Michael Giacchino. Yeah, if you think about it, he started with Medal of Honor, and now he's a very sought after composer for films. Hmm. You know what always wonders me if I mean I read many comments online that they should absolutely bring David Arnold back for Bond 25. I mean I loved his scores for the Brosnan movies, but then I was not a big fan of Casino Royale really, and I would just but I would just be wondering would he be able to get the sound back when he would do Bond 25? You know, really get a great sound. You know that of course he can do it. I mean, he's proven it many times, and he's an outstanding composer. But how would that sound? You know, would he bring the Bond theme back? You know, in an appropriate manner? Hmm. No. Other than composing Bond soundtracks, what soundtracks have you done? Um. Oh, there's so many things. Uh, I've done Year of Spies. I've done the Overwatch short fan film. I've done a lot of music for commercials, for short films, horror films, um, you know, comedy films, and always short things, you know, little things, not big productions. But yeah, and I was once part of a Stalker mod, which is called Lurk, and I did the score for that, but it was never released. The game that is. Yeah, there are many things, and I have done a couple of albums, um, blues, 80s sort of stuff. I can't recall everything. Yeah, that's about it. Funny thing about Giacchino, he composed for Jurassic Park, Warpath on PS1, and now he scores Jurassic World. Oh, there you go. GTA Vice City. GTA Vice City. Fossen, what are you talking about? Love GTA Vice City, but is there a reason why you bring it up? Yes, David Arnold. Okay. Got to go now. Thanks. Thanks, Tam OSB. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time. Thank you. Bye bye. Tyler Stevenson. Only track in Casino I really like was City of Lovers. I don't even know if I've listened through the whole soundtrack separately. What I just remembered is, as opposed to The World Is Not Enough, as opposed to Tomorrow Never Dies, as opposed to Die Another Day, there was no track that stayed in my memory, and that for me is not a particularly good sign when it comes to score. Of course, the score's got to serve the movie, but it did that as well in those movies that I just mentioned. It served the movie, it served the purpose, served the scene, but still, it was great to listen separately outside the movie. Bond's 8789. The Bond theme definitely needs to come back. Such an iconic element. They seem hesitant to use it other than it does so small they might not as well bother. Yeah, it's weird that they're so conservative with it. I just remember all those documentaries, when David Allen would always say, well, if you don't have the James Bond theme, you just have a random action film. And they say, yeah, well, go tell that Thomas Newman. Dark Jedi Reaper, glad you are going into 3 hours, or I've missed this. Well, I think this will be saved, and I think I will re-upload it so people who have missed it can watch it if they want to. But it's great you are here now anyway. Yes, he's a massive composer now. Michael Giacchino, David Arnold actually commented on this recently, saying that it was too soon to say. Yeah, I saw that. I think yesterday or something. That it was the last time, the most recent time he said that this is way too early. Tyler Stevenson, I love your music. Honestly, you're one of my favorite composers. Oh wow, thank you very much. That's wow. Thank you. Hmm. Guys, you know what? Just give me no. You know what? I just wanted to get another cup of coffee, but that's I cannot leave you. Uh, I can't leave you just hang around here. We'll be leaving. Just going to do without coffee. I just have a little more Rivella. Have you seen any? And by the way, Tyler, I can't. I really, that's something that goes completely. It's completely unimaginable to me that someone really. I mean, I understand that some people like listening to my music, but that someone really loves my music and he would listen to it on an MP3 player or something like that. It completely blows my mind. I still can't get my head around that. That or much less call me favorite composer. That's something as nice as it is to say, and as much as I love to hear it, and as good as it does, I just simply can't imagine it because I'm enjoying myself way too much making these soundtracks and having so much fun that it just in my perception that it can't be something good or serious coming out of it, because it's so much fun. Um, have you seen any of the John Wick movies? If so, what is your opinion on them? No, I know they're the ones with Keanu Reeves, but I've missed them all. Really. Can you tell me what have you seen them? What do you think about them? Just imagine Bond entering Hamburg in Tomorrow Never Dies, but without the blast of the Bond theme. No, no, you can't do that. Really. Mm-mm. 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 No, no, no. I don't care for that really long action track in Casino that everyone is obsessed with. Is that the one called? Is that the African Rundown one that you're talking about? Why don't you put your name forward to Eon? I don't think it's that easy. Um, I think well, I don't know if there's any way in. Um, I mentioned my friend Benjamin, who did this Bond documentary, Bond for Life, which was, it was done to get some money for UNICEF, which was also supported by Roger Moore, and it featured a lot of interviews with Bond fans and Bond actors, directors, and so on. And it was really a dedication to Cubby Broccoli, Barbara Broccoli, Michael G. Wilson, and so on. And he really did it, um, you know, for them. It was really a present to them. And it was screened in a few cinemas to collect money. It was never put on DVD because it was always the good cause, and he didn't want to make money off of it. And I know that he printed it on DVD, and at an event, I think in London, he ran into Barbara Broccoli, and he gave her the DVD even in person, and she was very thankful and said she would check it out and stuff. I think there was 1.5 years ago, 1 year ago, and he never heard anything from him. And that's why I think, these are such big companies. I don't really think if you don't have a personal recommendation or anyone would really within that business recommends you, because with David Arnold, I don't know if you know that, but David Arnold was suggested by John Barry, and so of course that was his way in, and yeah, I don't think there's really much chance for me to get in there, but it's fine. I'm sure I get other interesting projects, and if it's meant to happen, it will happen. That's my life motto. It's because of Monty Norman that they're hesitant to use the Bond theme. What do you think? I mean, Monty Norman would profit from it if they would use it more. I don't mind. Go get coffee. Your music has been on my phone for years now. Wow. Thank you, Dark Jedi, but thank you very much. Really means a lot. Really. Looked through your videos, etc., and found GoldenZen radio station in GTA Vice. Yes, I did. I did a fake radio station for GTA Vice City once. Yes, with all sorts of comedy elements, and put all my 80s tracks in there, and really came up with an own 80s station. So you can also download it and put it into the MP3 folder in GTA Vice City, and so you have a new radio station. And but the whole project performed pretty badly. I thought it would get a little bit more exposure. I even included Rockstar Games in the tweet, etc. And but hardly anyone ever saw it. But well, that's not so bad. I had a lot of fun. I had an amazing time doing it. GoldenZen radio station in GTA Vice City. Yes, right. So if you're into GTA Vice City and that 80s sort of topic, and there's some comedy elements in there. So if you're into that, you can find that on my YouTube channel, and you can also download the file, which of course is legal because there's only my music in there, the 80s stuff that I did. The Wick movies are more of a comic book-like feel than a standard action movie, in my opinion. Okay, Wick is good. Okay, yep. Okay, seems everybody agrees on that. Dr. Reaper, do you do any other fan projects? Like I said, I was working on something like an audio drama. Could you do music for it? Well, the problem is sometimes I get a lot of requests, for fan films and stuff like that. But the problem is that I have to turn many things down because I have such a busy schedule. I mean, there's GoldenEye 25, takes a lot of time. Then I have commercial productions. Then I have sort of a separate contract with the radio station I work at to do jingles and stuff like that. Also, is a lot of time, very very time consuming, and so usually I don't have time to take on fan projects, unfortunately. And I've been doing this so many years, and to run a studio like this is really this is just the other part, which is just I don't like to talk about that, but it's just a reality that running a studio like this is pretty expensive because you have to update software all the time. Sometimes you have to get new gear, and this is really really expensive. And of course, usually for fan projects, the budgets are not really that high. Of course, how could they be? But sometimes I also have to be declining for that. But sometimes there's still things I take on when the timing is right, or when something really strikes me and I think, yeah, that's something I really want to be on. But yeah, I'm always open for suggestion. I just always hope that people are not offended, or they don't feel discouraged, when I have to say no. Look, I have to let it pass. And I'm also in a band that takes some time, uses up some time to rehearse and then to go perform live. So there's really not much time left, unfortunately. And of course, I have to prioritize, and of course, the commercial things come first. But I'm not, like I said, I'm always open for suggestions. I'm never like, no, 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 fuck off, fan projects. I don't do fan projects. It's not the way I am. Tyler Stevenson, wasn't Conti recommended by Barry? Yes, I think so too. I think most of the composers were actually that were not Barry himself were suggested by him. I think Marvin Hamlish too, and Michael Kamen. I'm not sure about. I don't know how that came about. Eric Serra was hired because the producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson saw Leon, and they loved that so much, and they wanted to get that sound. That's why they've gotten Eric Serra. How did you get the nickname GoldenZen? Okay, so my last name is Zenhausen, and so I took that Zen. And the first big music project was so important to me and meant so much to me, which was GoldenEye Source. And so I just combined that. So, leaves you with GoldenZen. Now, in hindsight, it was probably not the best pick because many people think that it's some sort of, meditation thing, Zen-like stuff. And it's no, it's nothing to do with that. Give Monty all the money he wants. Put Bond theme in excessively. Oh, okay, yeah, I see. Good point about Monty Norman. I hadn't thought of that. I just assumed it was all part of the reboot. Yeah, could be some truth. Yeah, well, it could be some truth to that. But then again, they have paid him for so many years. They've paid him for all the way up until Die Another Day, and especially in the last Brosnan movies. I mean, there was the Bond theme was all over the place. So, do you really think? I mean, and the budgets of those movies they get bigger and bigger. So you think they wanted to save money on the Bond theme? Well, it could be, but yeah, it's interesting to talk about. Thank you for your candid answer and being honest. I will message you at some point about if we were even passing into here about it. Yeah, absolutely. What do you charge for a fan film? Well, that's hard to say. It depends on how much time it takes to do, how long the fan film is, how much music it needs. Of course, an all electronic score is easier to do than a full-fledged orchestral score. But generally, I have. It's been a long time since I last did a fan film. I did a Bond fan film once, which was called I Only Need One, and that was quite a few years ago. But that was just in between a few productions where I just had a time space. But usually, fan films are really in the priority list. They're very down there, and that's not that should not be a discouragement to any of you making these. It's really just about when I do these things, I want it to do right and I want to do the best. And it's just the time is not left for that. That's the problem, really. And you got to remember, I don't this composing. I don't do this full time, and this is not my job. This is not my breadwinning job. I have a full day job. 100%. I work 100%. All the music that I do on evenings, on days off, on holidays. And so, I really got to be mindful of the time and how I spend it. GoldenEye Source, right? Yeah. What is your dream project to work on? That's a very good question. My dream project. The series I was talking about earlier, the Chernobyl, the new HBO Sky series, that one I would have loved to score. I really love to do these dark industrial things that take place in Russia. That really leaves a lot of place for interesting sound design, something like that. And maybe, and of course, a Bond movie if they get back to the older formula again and get out of that era they are in right now. Or There's a lot of things that I could imagine. Um, but of course, if you've heard some of my music, I didn't even know if I would be interesting for a film production, because I specialize in combining a lot of retro with a little bit of more modern contemporary stuff. And I feel and I think by what I see nowadays, that's exactly what they're avoiding in scores in general. Of course, they're also coming back to old vintage synthesizers and stuff like that. It's also in the charts music, but I don't really know if what I do is really in high demand. I think if what I do was really popular and would be something a lot of people want to hear, like the masses would want to hear, I think maybe I would have gotten, maybe I would have already gotten a big movie to score or something like that. I'm not sure. I never know. But not, I'm not complaining. I'm absolutely happy with where I am right now. It's not that I'm complaining or saying, oh, I wish I could do this and that. I'm looking forward to every project that comes my way. That's it's always be. I always say, always be thankful for what you've got. Because I had my phases when I was a teenager, when I was just always longing for more and more and more, and it just makes you perpetually unhappy. You're just never happy with what you have, and I passed that time, and I'm very thankful for it. GoldenEye Source was the first I heard about you. Yes, exactly. That was the first. That was sort of the break into the whole music thing. Really, the first guys who really gave me a chance to do something. GoldenEye. Did the chord stuff with Monty get ugly in the 90s? You mean with John Barry when they had the chord sessions, when they tried to clear up who has now written the Bond theme? You mean that? I think at one point it's gotten pretty nasty. Um, of course, in the end, everything went to Monty Norman was named, or was ruled by the court, was ruled the originator of the Bond theme, the James Bond theme. But I know there are many people skeptical about that, and they don't really believe it. By the way, he was supposed to. I mean, I've not heard many times. I've not even heard it one time that he did public appearances. But there was just a big event in Switzerland here on last week, celebrating the 50th anniversary of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and Monty Norman was supposed to be a guest star, one of the guest stars, and he had to cancel on short notice because he was not well. Well, I mean, he's 90 or over 90. I mean, but he had to cancel. But he was planned to be a guest star, but that didn't take place. Yeah. Dr. Reaper, I love the music from GoldenEye Source, especially when you came into the scene, but I could never get into GoldenEye Source itself, only played it a little. Thank you. That's so nice of you. Um, yeah, I suppose you're not that big of a multiplayer fan then, are you? Yeah, that's also why I don't spend a lot of time in GoldenEye Source, because I'm more single player myself. Also love the facility track you made for GoldenEye Source, because it was so much like an expanded version of the track from the film. It was great to listen to. Well, cool. Thank you very much. I saw that one. You mean that he was supposed to be a guest star up in there? Or you mean the court ruling? Got to keep up the good work. Well, or at least start with it. Now, I mean, I always think that being, modest and being a little bit of self-deprecating humor, I just love that in people. But I just learned the hard way, by the way. if someone compliments you on something, you know, you cannot say like, for example, when you say, "Oh, you've written a nice tune there," usually I would go like, "Oh, well, it was just chance, or it was not even me. It was not even me that had written it." But that's very off-putting to people, because then I sort of say that your estimation and your judgment is not good. You know, that can be. Of course, it doesn't reach you, or it doesn't touch you to being that offensive, but it's sort of subconsciously, it sort of evokes that feeling of, oh, I told him he does something great, and he sort of tells me that I'm an idiot for thinking that. That's not a nice thing to do. Hi, Medley Tales. Will this be uploaded onto YouTube later? I wasn't given a notification for this. Oh, that's bad. Yes, I think that works. I did a test yesterday, and I think those videos are saved, and I'm sure I can re-upload it for people to watch. And if you've missed it, it's 3 hours and 20 minutes now, and that would be a lot to watch. Okay, I think, you know what? Again, this has gone exceptionally well. It was really a lot of fun. Really enjoyed this. I didn't think it was going that well and was going to be that active. Really, really great. Love you guys for that. Really. So I think we're going to do this again next time, probably on a weekend. On a weekend, so maybe more of you can join, or it will be more convenient to you, because I realize this is in the middle of the week, and some of you may come over work, and some of you, depending on time zone. But I think, yeah, it will be more convenient in the weekend, and I think we're slowly going to come to an end, because it's 3 hours and 20 minutes now. I'm really starting to get tired. It's almost 1 a.m. here, and I really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. I hope you did too. If you have any suggestions or something like that for next time, I think we'll do this again. Yeah. Was a pleasure to speak to you live. Thank you very much, Doc Genereep. Again, very well, very nice talking to you too. Thank you very much for the love. Really good for a first live stream. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's great. Tyler, thank you too. Yeah, slowly coming to an end. Do you have any questions left as of now, or something that you want to mention? You can throw it in now, and other ways. Yeah, we're going to come to an end. It's time for a station break. Yeah, it's great. It was a great group. It was great talking to you all. Yes. Also different opinions and all sorts of things. That's really cool. Okay. So if there's no questions left, nothing left to say. Just give it some more time in case somebody is typing right now. And otherwise, yes, we're gonna call it a night. I'm really, really tired now. Last couple of days that were really, really intense, because I had to write in about 3 days. I had to write about 40 minutes of music, orchestral. Definitely do it again. Yes, absolutely. I will. This has gone exceptionally well, much better than I've expected. So I will do that again. Yes. I think, yeah, not sure if on a regular basis. I don't know if that's too much, but we'll see. But surely this will be repeated. Okay. So, again, thank you very much for joining in. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me, to listen to me, to throw in your opinions and your things. Like I said, next time it doesn't just have to be about Dalton. The music can be about anything. We can talk about anything. But I've really enjoyed this very much, and thank you for all the support and all the love again. and we'll see you guys soon. Have a good one. Bye bye.